those of you outside the US in territories that don't have a terrestrial deal, what is it, just after 8 o'clock in the UK, just after 9 in Central Europe on a Sunday evening with a holiday weekend and a day off tomorrow, at least for those of you in the UK. Perfect opportunity to stay up and watch this race this evening. And on the front row, as we mentioned, the two Acuras from Konica Minolta, with Ricky Taylor laying down an extraordinary lap, new record in qualifying. We had times even this morning in the chilly early warm-up for the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship that eclipsed last year's race lap record, which was set by Loic Duval. Ollie Jarvis will be on the outside, the front row for MSR in the number 60, the pink and white Acura. Then it's Alex Lynn, who's been brilliant this weekend with Earl Bamber in the 02 Cadillac run by Chip Ganassi Racing. Sebastian Bourdais coming off a fabulous drive at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. He will start the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac. Then it's Tristan Vautier for JDC Miller, that's the Mustang sampling number 5, and Tristan Nunes for Wheeling Engineering, the 31 red and white Cadillac. In LMP2, Stephen Thomas heads a PR1 Matheson front row lockout. His teammate Patrick Kelly in the 52 will start alongside him. Behind them, Dragon Speed in the 81 of Henrik Hedman and Dennis Anderson for High Class Racing, the number 20 red and white car. John Ferrano for Tower in the tangerine black and white car. The number 8 has Dwight Merriman and the blue and white number 18 from Aero Motorsport alongside him. Into the GTs, Mathieu Jaminet for Pfaff Porsche with the Haggerty driveway Porsche. The number 9 is on pole position from Daniel Juncadella for WeatherTech Racing, the 79 car, which we're used to seeing as a Porsche. It's an AMG for the rest of the season, and they've got Alex Riberos for the Heart of Racing Aston Martin, the number 23 in third position. Then in GTD, a brilliant pole position for Winward Racing and for Russell Ward. He was in a class of his own for the GTDs, and the 51 will start on pole position in 16th overall, with John Edwards in a pro car, the BMW M Team RLL BMW M4 GT3. That's the company on the outside of that row. In the 18th position, it's Jaden Conrad for NTE SSR Lamborghini Turner Motorsport with Robbie Foley next up. Then Roman De Angelis and Heart of Racing Carbon with Peregrine Racing, the 39. That's the dark grey with bright green accents on that car. And making up the top 11 rows, Jack Hawksworth with Vassar Sullivan and the Lexus. Then it's Paul Miller Racing and Rick Ware Racing in BMW and NSX Acura. Then the Corvette Racing of Jordan Taylor on the 25th position with Stephen McAleer for Team Korthoff, the AMG alongside him. Allegra Motorsport in 27th position. Ryan Hardwick for Wright Motorsports Porsche in 28th. Brendan Arieb in the Inception McLaren in 29th. 15th row is completed by Rob Ferriol for Team Hardpoint. Then it's the blue and yellow GMG Racing of Kyle Washington. That's a Porsche, the 34 car, in 31st position. And rounding up the 16th row, Frankie Montecalvo for Vassar Sullivan. And that car starting from the back of the grid. Our Porsche keys to the race. Track position is key around here. Watch the traffic. Watch your tyres, get your pit strategy right, and keep it on the black stuff. We'll revisit those as they go on, as we head to the green flag with 2 hours and 40 minutes to go. And the green flag is in the air, and Ricky Taylor for Konica Minolta leads them through. It's a really good jump for the Acura. Bit of pressure for second place down the inside. That's Alex Lynn looking to come through there, and he's pushing very hard. We've got a spinner right in the middle of the track. I think that might have been the Era car. Yes, it was. It's the 11 car. That's the pole sitter, PR1 Matheson. Stephen Thomas, pole sitter from LMP2 that's gone round. So Patrick Kelly's gone through into the lead there. Please tell me that wasn't PR1 on PR1 there. Jaminet still leading in the GT categories as they stream through turn 5 for the first time, and Ricky Taylor, Jeremy Shaw, is leading the motor race from pole position. Great start from him.
great start for him, a tremendous performance in qualifying. He's going to look to keep that thing going. Just a great mention of somebody who's not racing this weekend is Andy Lally. Normally he's raced in every other full season GTD race since the inception of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship back in 2014. But Magnus Racing this year doing only the long distance races. But a good first clean lap there for Ricky Taylor into second place, the second of the Acuras. That's on the Jarvis for Marshank Racing. And let's have another look again here at the start. And there was he's just looking lost it on his own there with Stephen Thomas, I think, going into the braking area at the Mario Andretti hairpin, John.
Yeah, that was an odd one, wasn't it? There was a few people who got a little bit overexcited there. Big lock-up, I think, from Stephen Thomas. That was the tyre smoke, the Michelin tyre smoke that we saw early on. Was lucky, actually, not to be collected by one or two teams, and a nice bit of driving by Jaden Conright in the NTE SSR. The blue and white machine. Now, Era's gone around. It was Era. Oh dear, Dwight Merriman. Am I already deciding that I'm Mystic Meg and seeing the future? Penalty for the number 12. That's a drive-through for the Vassar Sullivan Lexus, and that's coming out the pits now, changing more than one tyre after qualifying. So they have had the car put to the back of the grid and that drive-through after that infraction. We knew that was going to happen, but they have already served that early on. And now the drive back begins for Frankie Montecalvo and the rest of that team. They have, though, Jeremy, got a bit of clear track now, as Frankie is well off the back of the field.
Yeah, that's right. There's just looking up there was Dwight Merriman and spinning that car running track. He got kind of pinched down at turn one. He was kind of sticking his nose where it really didn't belong there, though, so that was a mistake, I think, from Dwight. But no harm, no foul. He was missed, fortunately, by the GTD Pro cars as they went through there. So no harm, no foul for them, at least. And yeah, that drive-through penalty as a result of that tyre change after qualifying for number 12 car. So they've got a lot of work to do now to get back on the lead lap. And they're still on the lead lap, but a long way to make up the ground to the other contenders in GTD. So they really will need a yellow, most likely, to get back into contention.
If you'd like to get in touch with us at IMSA Radio on Twitter, hello to Andrew Muggeridge and to Sarah Rigby, coming back from GT Racing at Brands Hatch, all tuned in on their travels home. Safe travels back up to Crewe from Brands Hatch. Sarah, that's quite a distance that you're having to go with Martin tonight. A Blue Fiend listening in live with a Wright Motorsports sports hat on, hoping for a good result for them this afternoon at Laguna. Well, a lot of teams who are hoping to kickstart their season here have had troubled starts to the season. Ricky Taylor leads by 2 seconds. It's been an exemplary start from the Konica Minolta Acura. 2 seconds and already down to a 16.2, which makes that, I think, Jeremy, a new race lap record, and we're barely started here.
Yeah, 15.6 is a lap record.
Oh, is it? Sorry, my apologies.
Year, but within half a second of it right away. And as we saw yesterday in qualifying, John, it takes several laps to get the heat into these Michelin tyres. So I would expect the next few laps to go quicker and quicker. But again, like we talked about a little while ago, they're also anxious not to push too hard too soon. Ricky Taylor, his lead at the end of the first lap was 1.4 seconds. It's already now, after 3 laps, 2 seconds. This is kind of what we saw a few weeks ago on the streets of Long Beach, where Sebastian Bourdais qualified on the pole with a blistering lap record, took off into the start. At the start, in 5 laps, he pulled out nearly 3.5 seconds, but then he had an off at the hairpin, so had all the hard work to do again. So Ricky Taylor does not follow that script.
And don't forget, you can download the Spotter Guide from Andy Blackmore as well at spotterguide.com. All of the official liveries there, www.spotterguide.com, and the links are there to the all the liveries with the drivers and the teams on there. Andy doing great work again. So already we've had a spin from the pole sitting LMP2 car, which has dropped way down the field for PR1 Matheson Motorsport. Then we had Dwight Merriman in the number 18 Era Motorsport going around at the same place. They've dropped even further back, down to 29th. Stephen Thomas is down to 22nd, and a drive-through penalty for Frankie Montecalvo. We knew that was coming. They'd been put back to the grid. They changed more than one tyre, so that's effectively a tyre change. So you lose your position on the grid and you have to do a drive-through. That has now been served, and Frank Montecalvo has just done the fastest lap of the race in the GTD category at 1:25.620. As I said before, the fight back starts right now, but at the front of the field, we know this is an accurate track. They've been very successful here. All three of the last 3 years have been won here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca by Acura cars, and Ricky Taylor is still 2 seconds ahead of the field, and now his best time is down to 1:16.1. Jeremy, this is impressive stuff at the front for the Wayne Taylor car.
Indeed, a good early stint here from Ricky Taylor, as we expected, of course. The Acura's looking good here this weekend, as they have in recent years here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Similarly, by the way, in GTD, Porsche's always looking good here, and Jaminet still leads in the GTD Pro category, but not by much over the Mercedes and the Aston Martin hot on his heels. But in the third and fourth positions, then the two Ganassi Cadillac Racing entries, and they're all running very similar lap times at the moment now in the leaders, except for Ricky Taylor, 61. Actually, no, Oliver Jarvis turned a 61 last time, around half a second clear of the two Cadillacs behind him.
Maybe this is the perfect time for IMSA racing in the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, particularly for those of you in Europe who've been out watching motorsport. It was the Donington Historic Festival today in the centre of the UK, and quite a few people coming back home from that, John Bigger included. Hello to Right Turn Lover, who's tuned in Central Europe as well. RTL, good to know that you're tuned in. Blue skies, great temperatures, fabulous racing, and a 32 car field is what we've got to look forward to for the next 2.5 hours. Settle back, get yourself comfortable, whether you're here at the track or further afield, because I've got a feeling this is going to be an absolute cracker. It's Henrik Hedman for Dragon Speed that leads in the LMP2 category. Patrick Kelly had to check up when his teammate spun around, and he's been passed both by Hedman and High Class Racing in the number 20. That's Dennis Anderson who started that car. Mathieu Jaminet getting through some of the LMP2 cars. He's in the 10th overall and leads in GTD Pro. Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport now at the front of the field in GTD, having disposed of Russell Ward, the pole sitter. That's how the leaders stand with that VP Racing Fuel in race update here on IMSA Radio. Battles throughout the field, including with the NSX just going across the line right now, and right in behind that car is the number 32, Stephen McAleer. So that's Stephen McAleer looking at the back of the Rick Ware Racing car. Jeremy, they're battling for 7th and 8th in GTD. Further up the field, the number 9, the FAF Racing car, that's the Porsche, the Plaid car, and that is the GTD Pro. That's Jaminet, with Juncadella hunting him down in 11th, 12th, and Riberas in 13th position. This is a great start from the GTD Pro front runners.
Jaminet over the last couple of laps just eked out a little bit of a gap over Daniel Juncadella in the second position. Let's see if he can maintain that on board now with the Mercedes coming down the hill out of the corkscrew through turn 9 here, that very fast left-hander, and you want to make sure you don't run off onto the dirt on the exit of that corner. Turn 10, the right-hander again. There's a drop-off there on the exit of turn 10 as well. It's very easy to get your tyres over that, and then you can have a big oversteering moment at best. As the leaders now well into the traffic as they come down the hill, and that is going to, on this occasion, it's Oliver Jarvis who got the worst of it coming down the hill. He had to be patient going through turn 9.
Jeremy, drama for Sebastian Bourdais. The car is grinding to a halt at the top of the corkscrew. Hasn't even made it to the corkscrew. He's just on that little right kink before they get to the top of the hill, around about the 300-yard marker. And that car is dead stick in the middle of the track. Must be sitting with either with an in gear or with his foot on the brake, because it's not rolling backwards. Now he's done the Control-Alt-Delete, the three-fingered salute, and race control waited there. That's fantastic race direction as Sebastian Bourdais has rebooted the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac racing car and is now moving. They didn't go for the big yellow button and put us under full course caution, and with just under 2.5 hours to go, Bourdais off the track. He's trying to make up so much ground down at turn 10, but at least, Jeremy, he's moving again.
Yeah, he is, and that's exactly what I was talking about there. Coming out of turn 10, they're way off of that dirt on the left-hand side of the racetrack. That's going to put a lot of dirt onto his tyres. He'd already lost a fair bit of temperature with that spin. Now they'll have dirt, a coating of dirt as well, so it'll be really slippery the next couple of laps for Sebastian Bourdais.
Not sure that he spun, Jeremy. I just think it ground to a halt. I didn't see any evidence of him going off the track there. Leader right into the GTD traffic, coming through turn 11 now, completing another 2.25 miles of this WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca circuit. He crosses the line now. 3 seconds to the good from Ollie Jarvis, who just goes through now. Then there's Alex Lynn just going through. That's 6 seconds behind the leader. Ollie Jarvis just trying to gain on the leader. He's got it under 3 seconds there. Jeremy watching the lap times as they go through. Now a little bit of clear road in front of Ricky Taylor in that number 10 car as he heads through towards turn 5. And Shea Adam down in the pit lane. As soon as she saw that problem for the 01, she wandered down to the Chip Ganassi Racing pit, and there's consternation down there, Shea.
There's a lot of deciding, why are we going to bring him in, are we going to leave him out, are we going to bring him in? They left him out the last time around. The pit board is semi-dangling over the wall, but they haven't fully put it out yet, so I'm not sure. Yes, he is in the pit lane, so Seb Bourdais is in. This is not good. I'll take a look at the car and let you know if anything looks weird.
I like the idea of semi-dangling rather than fully dangling. We'll need to have a chat about that, Miss Shea, later on. Bourdais into the pit lane now, and what's going on down there, Shea?
All right, well, they were holding the pit board out, but it was still over the pit wall, so it wasn't really being held out, if that's more clear than semi-dangling. Tire change is going on. It looks like scrub rubber for the Michelin. They do have a mechanic in the passenger side of the car talking to Seb. We walk around and see if he is pushing any buttons or anything. No, Seb is indicating as if he couldn't get it to go forward. Remember, this is the car that had the transmission issue early on in Sebring after Seb put the car on pole there. They are talking more so than anything else, actually doing anything. Now we're reaching down into the passenger side, if you know what I mean, the right-hand side of the car. The thumbs up was just given to Johnny Knotts as if to say, good, we figured out what it is, we're safe to send him back out. I think there might have been something loose in the car, actually, because they've got a wrench. Johnny Knotts, the lead pit lane official, by the way, the guy who can tell you if your car is safe to go out on track or not, and keeps all of us safe. So thank you, Johnny, for your hard work. But yeah, they're fastening something down in back behind Seb almost. Definitely something electronic. I would say that this is, maybe it's a gremlin ringing its evil head once again. Nope, data cable's going plugged back in, John. This is not going quick.
It's not going to be a short stop, is it? Electrical problems is the absolute nightmare of any race team, well, any automotive engineer, is if you have to take it in even to your local service or to your local dealer. I've got an intermittent electrical fault. Oh, excellent. Thanks very much for that. It's going to take us forever to find. We might not even be able to replicate it. The software link has gone in, and effectively what they're trying to do now is get the error codes out of that race car to put it into automotive terms, and this is dropping Sebastian Bourdais well out of contention, and we are barely 20 minutes into this race. So one of the bullets from the Chip Ganassi Cadillac gun, Jeremy, has been spent already, and after the great drive back by Sebastian Bourdais a couple of weeks ago, I think this time lost is too much even for him to pull back.
Indeed so, yes. This is going to be a steep mountain for this team, and they started off the season with 2 last place finishes in DPI, so not what they expected coming into the season. They kind of put that right to rights with the dominant performance a few weeks ago on the streets of Long Beach, about 300 miles south of here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. But this is a serious problem that's cost him already a couple of laps, and there's no way you can make that up during a 2 hours and 40-minute race, however good you are.
Even when you were otherworldly like he was a couple of weeks ago. And trust me, if you haven't seen that, it's worth going back and looking at the video archive on the official IMSA YouTube channel. 28 car, Michael Di Casada for Legg Motorsports has gone around coming out of turn 6. But he was pointing vaguely in the right direction. He snicked it down through the gearbox, and the AMG GT3 rolls again. He's down through the corkscrew now in the grey, red and white car. So it's cost him a wee bit of time, but that car is, yeah, that's all right. There's no dents, there's no dings, there's a little more dust on it than there was earlier on, but I think Michael's got away with that one, and he does not come into the pit lane. Question for me was, did he jump or was he pushed? Coming up to turn 6, it's a blind entry, and it's just sort of a little downhill entry on the uphill, if that makes any sense. Yeah, just dropped the right-hand Michelin's off the circuit into the dirt, and then he was facing the wrong direction and rolling back down the hill, but he got it down through the gearbox into first, refired the V8 twin-turbo engine in front of his feet, and got it going again. That will have caught his attention though, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's a corner that catches out an awful lot of people. I remember when the Skip Barber School was based here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, they did more damage, or their students did more damage on that corner than any other racetrack. I mean, Skip Barber operated schools all the way around the country. I think they did more damage on that corner in terms of the cost element than anywhere else put together. Because what drivers tended to do, particularly inexperienced drivers, would get over that curve on the outside, overcorrect it basically, and crash into the inside wall. At least Michael didn't do that, but he's able to get going again, and I don't think he actually hit anything, did he? So it'll be just a little bit chastening for him, but he'll be able to get back out there and rejoin the fray, but now towards the back of the pack in GTD.
I wonder, with the relatively low grip nature of the circuit here, and he was on a bit of dirt as well, he might not have even badly flat spotted his Michelin tyres. He's dropped down to 30th position overall. That's 13th in the GT Daytona class, but he is moving again. He's about 10 seconds behind Frankie Montecalvo, who's making progress through the field. It's still at the front of GTD Robbie Foley, who's 2.5 seconds ahead of Russell Ward in respectively the Turner Motorsport BMW and the Winward Racing number 57 AMG GT3. Then it's in GTD Pro, Matthew Jaminet leading by 2 seconds over Daniel Ucadella in the WeatherTech AMG. That's Porsche versus AMG versus Aston in 3rd position. And in DPI, Henrik Hedman still leads from a recovering Patrick Kelly, who's got past Dennis Anderson, back into 2nd now, and is just 0.6 of a second behind the Dragon Speed number 81 that leads. But at the front of the field and bossing it at the moment, the 2 Acuras. There's 4 seconds between the 2 Acuras, and Alex Lynn in 3rd is 11 seconds away from the lead. Let's go down to Chip Ganassi Racing. Shea Adam has an update on the Sebastian Bourdais 01 Cadillac.
Unfortunately, the car is still with me, and unfortunately, I had the team confirm what we feared. Electrical Gremlin is back. They need to use some sage or something to try and get this thing out of the car. But they are trying a new battery, so a new Braille unit is being installed into the right side of this car. They'll send them out, see if it makes a difference. If not, it's going to have to go back to the garage.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Not what they were looking for in any way, shape or form. The rest of this race then will effectively become a test session for that car if they can get it going again. And they can potentially maybe still help the sister car. They've obviously dropped down to 6th in their class, all the way down in 32nd position, but I don't know. It's going to be a long old day for them. Sister car is Alex Lane in 2nd position. Check that, in 3rd position at the moment, and he is the best of the Cadillacs. But at the moment, Jeremy, at the front of the field, the Acura is doing what we sort of expected, stroke feared that they might do. They had the pace in qualifying. I remember Ricky Taylor telling us, oh, we're a bit worried about, telling Shea in the pole interview, oh, I'm a bit worried about how close the Cadillacs are. Well, right now, the two Acuras have got this place to themselves.
Yeah, having to adjust, and yeah, no one's even close. And there's already 5 seconds between the two Acuras, another 5.5 seconds back to Alex Lynn, 4 seconds back to Tristan Vautier, and Tristan Nunez, who once again is struggling in that number 31 car. He's a full already 22 seconds off the lead in 5th position. In LMP2, the leader has not yet been lapped. I don't think by our race leader, has he quite? No. In second place, so Patrick Kelly managed to get past Dennis Anderson. So the 52 car had number 20 a couple of laps ago, and he's closing in quite quickly on the Henry Hedman as we see the number 8 car out of 4th position in the pits already.
Shea Adam has the number 8 Tower Motorsport car. That's the tangerine black and white LMP2 machine for what looks like not a regular pit stop, certainly a planned one, Shea.
Very much so, and fascinating tire strategy that they've gone with. Left sides only, but these are stickers, cold, not scrubbed rubber. It's going to be difficult for John Ferrano to get heat into those tires, so watch that 8 car for at least the next 2 laps as it struggles to get up to temp.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane for us on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre. Wow, what an opening to this race, Jeremy. Now, what was going on with Tower there? How are they breaking up this race? And why are they doing 2 tyre strategy here? This is really interesting to me. Is this all about driver time?
Mainly, yes. Because it's a minimum of 1 hour drive time for each of the drivers in the LMP2 cars, and they can do about 40 minutes on a lap of fuel. So if you do make your first stop after 20 minutes, they can run about 40 minutes. So he's about halfway through his stint. He will now do a full stint before getting out of the car, handing over that number 8 car to Ryan Dalziel, to Louis Delatraz, who's been super fast all season long, for the final to take it home from there to the end of the race. So if there's a caution period any time after now in the next 20 minutes, then the number 8 car most likely will stay out, and that will then cycle through to the front of the pack in LMP2 when everybody else makes their pit stops. Because most of them will probably stay out for the full 40 minutes. So an interesting strategic call there from that Tower Motorsport team.
Yeah, we talked about this in the Michelin Countdown to Green and our Porsche keys to the race. Pit strategy, how do you work it? Do you divide the race up? Look, it's 160 minutes. Do you divide it up exactly? It's not that easy, to be honest. And I know that this is not a super long race, but there are still elements of endurance here that have to be looked at by the brains trusts on the pit wall here. Shea Adam, it's not been a good day for half of the Chip Ganassi Racing Cadillac team.
No, it hasn't. The team is pushing the 0-1 back behind the wall. It's a long way to go because the pit box is so much further down with the other DPI competitors. They're last in the DPI Championship, but they are still second to last in the DPI Championship. So they've got a long way to go. It's a long day for these crew guys, and I hope to see this car back out, especially for Renger van de Zande, a driver who's had so much success here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Interesting to note, though, in all of his driving here at this track, Sebastian Bourdais never been on the podium.
And it won't be today either, Shea. Thank you very much indeed. Electrical gremlins have done for the 0-1. How things, Jeremy, can sway. A couple of weeks is a long time in sports car racing. Sebastian Bourdais, absolute hero last week for Chip Ganassi Racing in the Cadillac, and through presumably no fault of his own, that car behind the wall, they're out of it today. Game over.
Yeah, and so for the 3rd time in 4 races, that car will finish last in the class, and boy, who would have expected that for Chip Ganassi Racing? They had problems at Sebring and Daytona, or Daytona and Sebring. It all came stunningly right, of course, at Long Beach, but gone wrong again here. Really disappointing for that team.
Shea Adam has more pit stoppers with 2 hours and 15 minutes still to go. Who's come to join you in pit lane now, Shea?
That was the rumble, albeit faint, of the 3 Corvette, because I was not expecting Jordan Taylor to come in this early. Fuel and new Michelin tires. He goes back out.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. So Jordan Taylor for Corvette on his out lap drops down to 30th. He can probably now 2 hours and 14 to go. Might be worth a chat with them, Shea, because I don't think they can do that on one more. Maybe they can do it on one more stop, but it'd be really, really tight. An hour and 7 minutes, an hour and 8 minutes on a run for the GT Daytonas. I'm not sure around here, Jeremy, because it is there's a lot of full throttle here for those GT3s.
Yeah, they could do some 45 to 48 laps. I think would be a stint length for the GTD cars. So yeah, it's around about right.
Right, so maybe they are back timing already and thinking, right, we can go one stop from here. At the head of LMP2, Henrik Hedman for Dragon Speed, Elton Julian's team, tracking in 6th position at the moment overall, and just short of being lapped by the leader. That was the Dwight Merriman LMP2 car, the Aero Motorsport car, who's just gone a lap down, and so around about 43 seconds up the road is Henrik Edmund. So he'll be getting lapped shortly, but this is a good run for Henrik. Patrick Kelly, who dropped down to 3rd or 4th position after the problem for his teammate earlier on. And John Ferrano, by the way, has worked his way back up to 16th position after being pretty much dead last in the Tower Motorsport car when he spun at the first corner early on in the race. Hedman then by just about 0.2 of a second from Patrick Kelly, the 81. I always come across the line now, actually. I always call that the Evel Knievel car, the white car with the blue stripe and the white stripes. The white stars, excuse me. Always reminds me of Evel Knievel's leathers back in the day. Probably I'm showing my age there. If you're not sure who Evel Knievel is, please look it up on your favourite search engine. 1.6 seconds ahead of PR1 Matheson Motorsport, the 52, and they've got about 14 seconds on the rest of the field, which is headed in LMP2 by Dennis Anderson for High Class Racing in the number 30. Early stop for Corvette. Was it a problem, Shea, or was it, as we said in the Porsche Keys to Race, was that a bit of pit strategy going on for the number 3 car?
It was the brains all the way up on the top shelf, as it was explained to me, and I asked one more stop from here, and they said, well, we'll see. I mean, it would be difficult, but long way to go. Never know when a yellow is going to fall. Corvette Racing looking to do something different. They were running around in 6th anyway, so why not?
Yeah, exactly right. That's very interesting that they should do that, and they've rolled the dice early, Jeremy, but what they've got themselves into a position whereby if we stay green for about another 40 minutes, they can make their final stop. Other cars have still got probably 2 stops to go. Yeah, absolutely 2 stops to go. So if it stays green, the Corvette, which is sitting way down at the moment, actually in a pretty good space. And you know, it's the old thing, isn't it, where, by the way, I like the top shelf that Shea described it as on there. That's where the big money is, on the top shelf. If you do the same as everybody else, then you'll get the same result. If you're going to try and shake things up and be disruptive, Jeremy, you've got to do something different.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the reasons we saw number 8 car make its stop in LMP2 a little while ago. They realised quite rightly that most of the cars, most likely in LMP2, will run the first full 40 minutes first of all, and then allow them a bit more leeway when they make their second stop to do the driver change, which has to be after an hour of drive time. It does not include time spent in the pits, so that's going to be something that the teams are going to have to pay attention to for sure. So you know, there's a whole, as we talked about right at the beginning, there are a bunch of strategies that will work here, and if a full course caution were to come out, it can either hurt you or hinder you.
Yeah, can do. Into the pit lane, and maybe that strategy call from Corvette Racing has triggered a couple of things, because the Vassar Sullivan number 14 GTD Pro Lexus RCF with Jack Hawksworth at the wheel has been in as well. And Shea, I presume that was a very quick splash of fuel and said, or did they take Michelin tyres as well?
They sent Jack Hawksworth on 4 sticker Michelin tires. And John, that's actually something interesting from this morning's warm-up that I didn't really pick up on because I wasn't over the wall as much. The stickers that people were sent out on this morning to try and scrub in the rubber to, i.e. take that sheen off. Well, apparently scrubbing in wasn't very easy, and there were a few teams that went out and came back in with the stickers still fully in place. That was brand new Michelin's, no, for Jack Hawksworth. As into the pit lane now comes the 18 Era Motorsports LMP2. This is Dwight Merriman behind the wheel. Let's see if they're going to be giving him new tires. They should be, because he's been on those. He's had a couple of spins on them. Yep, they are, and they are shiny as well. So new Michelin's for Dwight Merriman, breaking up his stint into 2 parts.
Question for Shane, Jeremy, and whoever hits the buzzer first can answer. It's coming from Nigel Dobby. Hello, Nigel. Thanks for tweeting us at IMSA Radio. If there's a full course caution, will there be a class split within the GT category? I.e., will the GT Pro cars be able to go ahead of the GTD? Shane got a hand up first and says...
Yeah. Negative. That is not something that they do. The cars start together wherever you qualify, and wherever you are on the racetrack, that is where you resume from a caution.
Car in the wall. Oh, it's Russell Ward in the Chechemets AMG. He's gone in at the exit of turn 6 into the unguarded wall on left side, and it's full course caution. He's dropped his wheels off the right hand side of the track at turn 6 and then speared across to the left. What a shame. What a shame. He's gone a long way up the track there, almost up to turn 7. And who got into the pits and who didn't? That is going to be the big question. I will pull up the race control. Well, there's a car going straight through, which I presume, Shea Adam, was that the Era car going through? I presume that was because they could.
No.
Oh, it was the 11, was it? Okay, Stephen Thomas coming out of 2nd place in LMP2. Yeah. I presume, Shea, that was because he entered a closed pit.
Correct, and he drove straight through because nobody got the opportunity to come into the pit lane. The pit closed lights coming on immediately.
Okay, well, that was... So what's happened there, just to explain, when there's a full course caution comes out, the pits are closed. Now, if you get in before that is called and the pits closed lights goes on, then obviously you get an advantage. They were a tad late in the number 11 PR1 Matheson car, but what they did, which was really, really sensible, and by the way, the Era Motorsport car did come in as well and did the same thing, drove straight through, I think. Yes, they did. Check that, the Era car got full service. They were in well before the pits were closed. That was the car that I saw come in originally, but the PR1 Matheson Motorsport car came into a closed pit, but the team, very heads up, sent them straight through. There will be no penalty for that because they did not get service. And by the way, Russell Ward, Bryce, if you're listening, Russell's fine. He's out the car under his own steam. He's taking his helmet and his, actually it was it Russell? Yes, it was. In that car, he's taking his helmet and his hands device off, and he's making sure the car's safe for the AMR safety crew. So Jeremy, heads up by PR1 Matheson there, a mistake, but they didn't compound the mistake by getting a penalty off the back of it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a mistake for sure. I would suggest that they heard the caution was going to be thrown, or they saw the exit, come into the pits now. He came into the pits as he was coming in, I would suggest. Yeah. That's when the lights came on to close the pits. So he was probably already committed. It's worth a try. He was kind of running on his own there because the other cars around him, he had that spin early on, so there was no one right behind him. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. If he'd beaten it in, it was probably only a few seconds. He got caught out by, so just drives through, carries on again, hasn't lost the position, still on the lead lap, no problem for Stephen Thomas. So nothing ventured, nothing gained there for that team.
It's Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Yeah, I totally agree with what Jeremy's just said there. They didn't make the mistake of touching the car. That was really heads-up driving, committed to the pit lane. You do get a little bit of leeway if you are at the pit commit area and the pit close light comes on, then you are allowed to continue, because obviously it would be more dangerous if you were partially into the pit lane and then you come back out onto the track. However, they must have just missed that. 2 hours and 5 minutes, just under, still to go. And it is Ricky Taylor from Ollie Jarvis. And that big lead that was built up by the two Acuras has now disappeared. And what's going to be interesting now is whether Corvette and the number 3 car and the Hawksworth Vassar Sullivan number 14, the GDD Pros, whether they decide to come in. They were only in a few laps ago, remember, about 10 minutes ago, or whether they cycle back to the front, because frankly, pretty much I think, Jeremy, everybody else will want to come into the pits now, as we've had 35, nearly 36 minutes of racing.
Yes. And what they might well do is come in and just sort of take a splash. They won't need nearly as much fuel as everybody else. So what they might do is come in, take a splash, and then go out again. And just the fact that their pit stop will be a lot shorter than everybody else's, that will make up a lot of positions. However, I think from here they can get to the end of the race on one more pit stop in any case. So they will most likely stay out here, and they will be looking really, really good, because they will cycle all the way to the front of the pack when everybody else comes into the pit lane.
This is great news for Alex Lynn and Tristan Fortier and Tristan Nunez for the 02 Cadillac, the 5 JDC Miller Motorsport Cadillac, and the Whelen Engineering number 31. Because they now get that time back that the two Acuras had built up. The hard-working safety crews already on the scene. And in fact, they've already moved the number 57 Windward racing car. And the flatbed is there, the EMR safety team, which travels with us for IMSA. Best in the business, doing a great job, and an opportunity, as we always do when we can, to say hello and to say thank you to the corner workers, the marshals, and all the volunteers, whether they're on track services, cleanup, recovery, medical, parking cars, checking tickets, or whatever. Thank you so much for all of your hard work and for giving the most precious resource of all, your time. And that goes also for anybody who's been working this weekend on motorsport anywhere else in the world. Here comes the top of the field. Pits open for prototype. Shea Adam is about to talk very quickly for about 3 minutes.
Hello, caller. Please hold. We've got some interesting visitors. The Acuras are both into the pits. It is Ricky Taylor out, Philippe Albuquerque in, and fuel and tires for that car. Fuel and tires as well for the 60 Meyershank Racing prototype. Oliver Jarvis out, Tom Blomqvist getting in. We've got Pippa Durrani being installed into the Whelen Engineering Cadillac, and we've got no driver change, it looks like, for Tristan Baudier. Drinks bottle change for the Mustang Sampling Cadillac. No driver change for the 02 Cadillac either. That's the sound of Philippe Albuquerque finally getting some forward motion. The pit exit closed light is on. He stops. He noticed that. Wait. Next car to get moving is the car that came in second. Third car to get in line is that 5 Mustang Sampling. Green light is on at the pit exit. Next up is Pipo. Then finally we get Alex Lynn in the 02. First of the LMP2 cars to get moving is the 20. That is still Dennis Anderson behind the wheel, but fuel and tires for him. Then we had the Dragon Speed 81, and then followed out by one of the 2 PR1 Matheson. That was the number 52 Patrick Kelly, and now the 11 gets rolling as well. Those were all of our prototypes that took advantage of the opportunity. Era stays out and jumps to the front, I do believe, by process of elimination. Getting the GT cars in next. We're going to get a lot of takers here too.
Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Well, that was slightly less than the 3 minutes that I allotted you. Jeremy, you were watching that. Who got out where?
Yeah, I didn't see where they got out, but Dwight Brenneman was a lap down after those spins and the earlier stop. So he stayed out. He did not come in, but all he doesn't move to the front, but he will move now back onto the lead lap in LMP2. I think the same with John Ferrano as well in car number 8. That car also was a lap down to the other 4 LMP2 cars.
Yeah, John, and with that early spin and the incident. Now, this is interesting. So the incident involving Russell Ward and the 57 has been reviewed. It's termed inconclusive, which means there was somebody else there, but we're not hearing which one it was. We'll
go ahead,
Johnny.
I think, John, it must have been a prototype car, because according to my notes here, he was kind of on his own. He was a second or so behind the number 96 car of Robbie Foley, and a similar distance ahead of the number 27 of Roman DeAngelis before that when that incident occurred. So if there was a contact, I think it was most likely a prototype.
Shea Adam in the pits with GT pit stops.
And I don't think I'll need all 3 minutes to tell you what's going on down here, but I will tell you it was a great stop from the Paul Miller Racing boys, because Madison Snow gets out ahead of Robbie Foley, the first GTD car to go back off the pit lane. Pit exit closed light is still on. Corvette came in. They took fuel only. We have a loose tire from the 23 Heart of Racing team. Not sure if the sister car hit it, but that would be my guesstimation. We've also got a top-up from the 14 Lexus as well as the 3 Corvette. I think I mentioned that. And it was fuel tires and a driver change for the number 79 Mercedes. Cooper McNeil is now in that car, but there was a problem during the stop. They are rolling him back into the box, jacking the car back up. Oh, bad stop for NT Esport as Jaden Conrad is now rolling once again. But this Mercedes, they are now putting, they didn't change the right rear tire in all the kerfuffle that was going on with an Aaron Michelin flying at them. Now Cooper has said he's going to be at the back of the field, but that was great strategy playing out for Corvette and Lexus for them to be able to come in and top off. And now they're at the front of the field with slightly more used tires than everybody else, but hey, they have already got heat in them.
At IMSA Radio, and Ian McCarthy makes a very good point, Jeremy. Cracking racetracks all across the USA, but could the first 4 rounds of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship be any more varied in terms of track, layouts and race lengths? Yes, we've had the 24 hours, the Rolex 24 hours at Daytona on the high banks in the infield. We've had 12 hours on the bone-shaking, filling, rattling concrete of Sebring. Then we've had the 100 minutes around Long Beach, and now this is our first actually quote-unquote normal length race on a proper old school natural terrain road circuit. You can say many things about IMSA, you can't criticise the variety, can you?
No, it's brilliant, and that's one of the great things I think about this championship. And we're back now to our kind of traditional schedule, which is exactly in this order. This race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca sometimes is later in the year. That's back and forth a little bit, but generally, Daytona, Sebring, and Long Beach are generally the first 3, and then it's either here to WeatherTech Raceway or Mid-Ohio, where we go to next, the next up on the schedule. So we're back to normality finally in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship.
Now the racing has been normally pretty good throughout the last couple of years, and we salute John Doonan, IMSA, and in fact all the team in competitions, and all the backroom staff as well, who don't get talked about at one Daytona, because we have to remind ourselves that in the last couple of years, despite the fact that everything was on the big slowdown and we're on the big full course caution, IMSA have continued to stage races, and since the amalgamation of Grand Am and the IMSA series, the American Le Mans series, this is 100 races since that happened. Shea Adam did all of the hard work on that, and it is an extraordinary achievement that over the last couple of years we've managed to put together what have been relatively full schedules. And congratulations to the promoters, the tracks, and especially the teams and drivers who've been prepared to continue the business of racing that IMSA have given them the opportunity to do so is absolutely superb. 100 up for IMSA in the combined race era. It used to be called the United SportsCar Championship. We know it now as simply IMSA, and we are into triple digits here this weekend. Congratulations to everybody, and maybe somebody should send a telegram to make up for the fact that, or to recognise the fact that we're 100 up. The DPI class split is going on right now, so if you're seeing cars at the track that are overtaking, don't worry. Into the pit lane for a second time here is the number 2, the 02, Alex Lynn, in the black and red machine. Adam, I presume that's just a little top up there, is it?
Yep, it was fuel only, but now he's sitting perched perilously on the hill and needs to re-engage the clutch without stalling it when the red light for the pit exit goes off. We've got 3 GTD stoppers, John. I'm not entirely sure they made it in before the 45-minute mark had elapsed, or had they, because Rob Ferriel has gotten out of the hardpoint Porsche, Catherine Legg getting in. We've got Daniel Morad into the Allegra Motorsports Mercedes, and then we've got Robert McGuinness out, Jeff Westphal into Carbon. All 3 of those things, all 3 of those nouns that I've just mentioned, all local to this part of California, so pretty cool home race for them. Oh, Aiden Reed is also in the 51 Rick Ware Racing Acura. That will be Ryan Eversley taking over. I hope this is a better pit stop for them, because the one at Long Beach lasted a little bit too long, but the good news is it comes under a caution, so even if you're losing time, you can still pack back up.
Still working on the 01 Cadillac in the paddock, both doors open into the cockpit, and team members all over it with a variety of IT equipment in there at the moment. Jeremy Shaw, an hour and 54 minutes still to go.
Indeed, so that stop for number 02 car, that was not scheduled for sure. They must have had a problem during their scheduled stop, which happened 3 laps ago when everybody else came into the pits, because unusually for the Ganassi team, they lost 2 positions, so at the back of the pack. I mean, it could have been they just put in another gallon or 2, I suppose, but I'd be surprised. I think there was some sort of an issue during that first pit stop, that maybe they didn't get all the fuel they needed or whatever it was, but I think that's something we should check up on, because one wouldn't have expected that car to come in again.
So just over an hour and 50 minutes still to go. The breakdown of not every class has done all of the 100 races that we've had since the Grand Am and ALMS conjoined. What's the breakdown in terms of prototypes and GTs?
Correct. This is the 87th event for the prototype class, whether that was DP or DPI, and it is the top prototype class, I should say. And for GTD, of which I'm watching 2 pit stops right now, one for the Wright Motorsport Porsche, Jan Halen getting aboard. They're losing time because the fuel nozzle is pulled out, and birthday boy Jan getting aboard. They are cleaning it out though to make sure that the fuel spill is good. Jan fires up the car and rolls away. The second of the car is Frederick Schandorf taking over for Brendan Narib in the 70 Inception Racing McLaren. Back out from behind the garage is the 01 Cadillac of Sebastian Bourdais. But just to finish that thought, 93 events have featured the GTD category. So we've had 7 where they haven't been there. Most of those have been Long Beach. I think one included the Kansas race for the PCs back in 2014. But for a full breakdown of all the races, I tweeted it the other day. So you can't go through it if you want to make sure my counting is right.
That's on that Gearbox Girl. So the WeatherTech AMG, I'm finding it so hard not to call that a Porsche, the number 79 car into the pit lane. Cooper McNeil has been installed. He'll do that middle stint, as Jeremy was talking about in the Michelin countdown, agreeing. Here's our Porsche keys to the rig. Track position. Well, Conning and Minolta have not given up first position, and Philippe Albuquerque is behind the wheel of that car. Tom Blomqvist for Meyershank Racing having taken over from Ollie Jarvis. Tristan Vautier in 3rd position for JDC Miller. Then it's Pipo Derani, and Alex Lynn, who's been in from the start with that extra little stop, has dropped down to 5th. In LMP2, it's Dennis Anderson for High Class Racing, who's got ahead of Dragon Speed and Henrik Hedman. Both of those drivers been in because they've not done their hour, of course. In GTD Pro, Jordan Taylor for Corvette has cycled to the front. I hear the cheers from Corvette Nation. And in GTD, it's Madison Snow for Paul Miller Racing. That's your VP Racing Fuels in-race update as we go back to green with an hour and 15 minutes to go. And it's another pitch perfect restart by Philippe Albuquerque for Konica Minolta, with the rest of the prototype streaming through behind him in the sunshine, side by side for the GTDs. And it looks like the Corvette has a little bit of company there with Jack Hawksworth down the inside Ryan Eversley's in there for Rick Ware Racing, and there's a touch on the Corvette and the BMW. That's the 96 of Robbie Fawley in Turner Motorsport, third place in GTD. That car just pushed out a little bit, but that was a real schmozzle going down in the Andretti hairpin for the first time. And there's all kinds of changes in that GT category at the moment. Must have some cars that are out of position there. Chamonix, Taylor, Hawksworth. So where is the Corvette? Down to second position now, and another lot up there further back in the field as they go through to the top of the corkscrew. I think that was the Lamborghini of the NTE SSRR. That's off the track again as it falls down the hill towards turn number 9. My goodness me, that was an untidy restart in the GT categories, Jeffrey.
It certainly was, yeah. But I'm not sure what happened there to Ryan Eversley. He seemed to get a jump on the field somehow. I'm not quite sure how he would have done that. Maybe he took the pass around. We have to watch out to see if there's a penalty for ES. Improper final wave-by procedure. Column 51 stop plus 2 minutes 53. Ouch. So that's going to be very, very costly. I wonder how he'd manage that. So that's going to be very costly for the Rick Ware Racing entry that was leading overall in GTD. But unfairly, apparently. So he'll serve that penalty redo at the back. But as you say, the Corvette already jumbled down a couple of positions there in GTD Pro. The other note, of course, is the number 8 and number 18 car, because they did not come in during that caution period, are now back on the lead lap in LMP2. So a great pit stop there for the high-class racing car number 20. And that now leads the class after a slower stop for the previous class leader, that was Henrik Hedman, and also number 52, by the way.
Matt Chiara, among others, asking how did the Corvette get to the lead? They were 5th. Remember, they pitted back just before that full course yellow came out and the safety car was on the track. So they didn't need as much fuel when everybody else came in, and therefore they got out much, much quicker and cycled to the front of the field. So they have taken 2 stops, as has Jack Hawksworth. They did the same thing, but because they needed fewer litres of fuel, that means they were stationary a lot less time, and they got out in front. However, Matthew Jamini for FAF Motorsport has stamped his authority back on GTD Pro. Ryan Eversley into the pit lane in proper final wave-by procedure, 2:53, as Jeremy was reporting. Again, it's worth mentioning here that not like other forms of racing, race control here says we are starting the wave-by, and it's up to the teams to tell their drivers if they are eligible for the wave-by or not. Now, whether it was the team or whether Ryan saw somebody going through and followed them through, obviously we don't know that. But the penalties if you do that, because you get such an advantage, effectively you're gaining a lap, aren't you? Then they are punitive, and that is what he's serving the 2 minutes and 53 seconds for, and that is directly related to the advantage that he got times, I think it's times 2, if my memory serves, and that is why that car's in the pit lane. Shit, I think there was another penalty as well there during, just towards the end of that session. Did you pick that one up?
Remember how I said I saw a tire go flying and it was the 23 Aston Martin that hit it? Well, why would there be, that there was a tire flying and it was from the 23 Aston Martin's pit box. The only car that could have hit it, the 27 Aston Martin. So Heart of Racing on Heart of Racing, that was a drive-through penalty for hitting pit equipment for the 27. Okay,
so the 27 has now dropped down to 29th position and 12th place for the Heart of Racing Aston Martin Vantage. So that will take a wee bit of time to crawl their way back. So that was a bit of excitement, and there's been a bit of a shuffle, as we mentioned, in LMP2. And actually, if you were tuning in and you'd been away and made yourself some food and then just come back, you might well think, Jeremy, that we just started the race, because PR1 Mathiasen Motorsport locked out the front row with the 11 on pole and the 52 of Patrick Kelly on the outside front, and they've worked their way back to the front.
They have, in reverse order. It's now Patrick Kelly ahead of Stephen Thomas. So they both got past Dennis Anderson on that last lap. So the Danish driver down into third place, just ahead of Henrik Hedman, doing a nice job in the fourth place, and John Ferrano and Dwight Merriman right behind him as well. So it was a good restart for PR1 Mathiasen Motorsports. They took advantage of that good pit stop and the restart to get themselves right back into contention, having both fallen back in that first lap incident when the number 11 spun going to first corner. The number 52 car had to take evasive action and lost several positions.
Yeah, spot on that. And just going back to that, those two early stops from Vasser Sullivan and Corvette. Remember, we said at the time that they went off everyone else's strategy. That wasn't triggered by the potential of that yellow flag that we had recently in the full course caution. That was a decision that they made, thinking, as we said, they were in 6th position when they did that for Corvette, and they thought, well, you know, what have we got to lose? If we stop now, we might only have to stop one more time, but even if we don't, we still have the advantage because we'll need to put fewer litres of fuel in, and that's exactly how it played out for them. So you might say nice timing that the yellows came out, but that was a deliberate ploy from Corvette Racing to go off strategy from everyone else. Now we've got another penalty, and this time it's for inception racing, more than the permitted number of crew over the wall working on the car. So that will be a drive-through penalty for the inception machine, sitting at the moment in 9th position for that number 70, and Frederick Schandorf will have to bring the McLaren 720S GT3 back in to the pit lane, and in fact he's doing so right now. He'll be peeling off into the pit lane at the end of this lap.
New fastest race lap by our race leader, actually almost identical times on 2 laps after the restart and 2 laps after that. 1 minute 15.68, which is fractionally outside that Loic Duvel's lap record, which was 15.669. So it was within a hundredth of a second of it, but that record still stands at the moment. But a new fastest lap of the race by Philip Albuquerque, but he hasn't pulled away much from Tom Blomqvist, who was actually a little bit closer this last time around. It's 1.2 seconds between the two Acuras at the front of the field, and a couple of seconds back to Tristan Vautier, who, as a result of that good pit stop by number 5 team, back up into third place and trying to keep that car's streak of podium finishes alive, the only prototype team to do so far this year. That's a good job of Henrik Hedman there, slicing down the inside of Dennis Anderson into the Mario Andretti hairpin. Nice move by Henrik.
Yeah, that's been coming from a little while. Henrik has been pressurising Dennis Anderson, and finally gets through. Too many driver assistants, by the way, for Inception. We mentioned too many people over the wall considered working on the car, more than the permitted number. It's very strictly controlled in IMSA, not like other forms of racing. I think of Formula 1 where there's 184 people around the car. Actually, I think it's 22 people around the car in Formula 1. I have no clue how anybody thinks that can be safe in any pit lane, even when fueling isn't involved. IMSA try to keep the numbers down, and in fact, of course, in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, Shea, there was a special rule for McLarens, weren't there, about how many people were allowed to work on the car, because they were the only GT4 car that had the centre lock wheel nuts.
Well remembered, John. We haven't had one of those this year to experience, but yes, they're only allowed one wheel gun and 1 tire change assistant over the wall at a time. So basically half the crew to go about doing the tire change because they have the advantage of the center locking wheel nut, whereas everybody else has the 5 studs. And this year in NASCAR, they've actually had a center lock wheel nut. So maybe we'll start to see that on more of these GT4 cars. I hope not. I really like the 5-wheel and the music that comes out of those guns.
Yeah,
exactly.
Love it. Love it. Sorry, that was only 4, obviously. I've dropped 1. Haven't got it on. That'll be a drive-through. It came up actually in the Corvette series at Spa last weekend when I think it was Joe and Nick who were down in the pit lane with Ben Considuris and I in the booth, saying, well, that's a bit of an advantage with the McLaren GT4s having a centre lock wheel nut. And I remembered that that wheel, that rule that IMSA implied, that applied to the Michelin Pilot Challenge, proving though that IMSA are thinking all the time, and that's why they have these rules in the pit lane to keep the number of people working down to a minimum. Right turn lover, easy logic for the pass around penalty for the Rick Ware car. Give back the lap that you took and get a lap of penalty for taking the lap in the first place. I suppose that's exactly how it works. Yeah, absolutely. Jan Limited Running says, there's one thing about Laguna Seca, it might be an old school track, but I love this circuit. Think particularly back to the MotoGP days, and Ian McCarthy watching the cars on the dirt at the moment. What about an IMSA Dirt series? What about the maximum ride height is on the DPIs? I watched the Bristol Dirt race in the Cup Series a few weeks ago. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I need to do a dirt race. I absolutely need to do a dirt race sometime. We are down to 100 minutes of racing, just under actually, 98 to go and 98 minutes to go. And here's how it stands on the VP Racing in race update, with Albuquerque and Blomqvist still leading out, just 0.3 of a second behind them. They've just put the FAF Racing Porsche a lap down, the driveway Haggerty machine, which by the way is sitting in the lead of GTD Pro with Mathieu Jaminet at the moment. In LMP2, it's Patrick Kelly ahead of Stephen Thomas, the 2 PR1 Matheson cars leading Henrik Edmond by a decent margin. Jaminet from Hawksworth from Taylor, that's FAF Porsche from Vassar Sullivan, Lexus from Corvette Racing, and John Edwards in BMW in 4th position in the M4 GT3. And in GT Daytona, just going across the line there, Paul Miller Racing in the similar car. They're leading 16th overall from Robbie Foley in another BMW, and Stephen McAleer in the team court of AMG GT3. Jeremy Shaw, we've now only got the same amount of time left as we started with at Long Beach.
Yeah, that's right, and I think lots of excitement to come, particularly now the 2 Acuras are back together again, because Tom Blomqvist is turning some really nice laps in that number 60 car for Meyer Shank Racing with Kerbagger Janian, the pink and white and blue car, and he's closed right in now on Philip Albuquerque, despite the fact that Albuquerque has set the fastest lap of the race and matched it a couple of laps later, fractionally outside the lap record. But those two, they're not pulling away as much as they were before from Tristan Vautier, who's running in 3rd position in that number 5 car, and still Pipo Derani and Alex Lynn, they're pretty much in a train behind Tristan Vautier, so the 3 remaining Cadillacs with your day out of the race still running pretty close together. This is 43 laps completed now by our race leader Philip Albuquerque, and the last lap time was a 1 minute 16.26. Nice clear track finally for these guys, having just put another lap on all of the GTD field just recently.
That's Jeremy Shaw, who's in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre with me, John Hindhaugh, Shea Adam in the pits for us. And a reminder that the Michelin countdown to green will come at the end of the race. Checkered flag ends the race, but not the conversation. We'll start that. Excuse me, it's post-race tech. Countdown to green would be a very long way away. Side by side for the 2 leaders in LMP2, and it is the 2 blue and white PR1 Matheson cars, and a change for the lead as Stephen Thomas goes back to how we were right at the start of the race. The number 11 ahead of the 52 with Patrick Thomas. He made that on the exit of the Mario Andretti hairpin. Made that look rather easy as well, but that was teammate on teammate, Jeremy.
Yeah, and these two had pulled out a long way over Henrik Hedman in third position. Almost 20 seconds behind is Hedman in third position. Behind him is number 18 car, Dwight Merriman, then Dennis Anderson in number 20 car. We just saw John Ferrano into the pits in car number 8. And was there a driver change there in that car? Yes, it is now showing as Luis Delatra. So I think it must have been awfully tight, but presumably the number 8 car did meet that minimum drive time of 1 hour, not including the time that car had already spent on the pit lane. And now it's Luis Delatra has hit the wheel of car number 8, and he's been super fast all weekend long so far.
1.2 seconds all of a sudden between Albuquerque and Tom Blomqvist. Now, was there a little touch on the Inception McLaren from the second place Patrick Kelly pair? No, there wasn't. But the whole back end of that car, both the under tray and the engine cover, which is at the back of the car, flapping around rather alarmingly as that car was going up to turn 6 and 7. Schandorf, who I think started that car, has gone back out in it.
No, Brendan started it. Brendan and Reeve started it.
Right, okay. That's interesting. The timing screen I've got has had Schandorf in that from the start. So, okay, maybe a transponder issue. When did Schandorf get in that car then, Jeremy?
Just a few laps ago. Well, they served the penalty.
Because he's on his outlap now. He didn't just get in that car at the outlap.
I think he probably did in that case, because that car served a penalty, didn't it, 4 or 5 laps ago, and Brendan Reeve would have stayed in then. So if it had just been in the pits again,
that was another penalty.
No,
that was another penalty. That was the penalty for too many people on the car. So Schandorf must have got in at the stop where they were penalised.
I'm sure it was Brendan Reeve, I think, who qualified the car.
Yeah, it was.
But Frederick Schandorf, by the way, set the fastest race lap at Long Beach in that McLaren at the most recent race.
Yeah, and he's got the fastest lap in the category at the moment as well. Which we see when that was. Well, Jeremy, you might be able to see where that was set, as we've got the Elton Julian Dragon Speed car in the pit lane, and Shea's there watching it.
Ladies and gentlemen, take a half step back from the fences if you are here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, because Juan Pablo Montoya has been installed in this car. He's fired up the engine. Oh, wheels spinning on the track. That's going to be a drive-through penalty. That was more than one full rotation for Juan Montoya. It was a very slow stop because the fuel nozzle came out about 10 seconds before the car tried to get moving, and about 11 seconds before it actually did.
Well, we did say in our Porsche keys to the race that getting your pits stops and your pit strategy right, and that includes not getting any penalties. It's quite a long pit lane here, and the start-finish straight is long and fast, so you do lose out. Working outside of the pit box is the latest penalty. Well, that's a new one on me, and that is Catherine Legg for the team Hardpoint. Catherine's in the car now and in the pit lane, so presumably she's serving that now, Shea Adam, as I can see the Hardpoint white Porsche heading down the pit lane right now.
Yes, and what happened was that they were doing the driver change. Car slid through the box before they could start with the refueling. The fueler guy caught it and pulled it back, but the fuel nozzle was already attached when it was further out than it should have been from its box. So there was fueling going on outside of the box. We got the 70 McLaren in as well to address that diffuser, which was broken on the back of the car. It was flapping around as I heard it go down the front straight. And John, you've got a spinner at turn 3.
Yeah, and it's significant. It was the leader, Stephen Thomas, in LMP2. He's managed to get the car pointing vaguely in the right direction. I think it's turn 4, between 3 and 4. as no, that was 3, excuse me. I'll go back to where I was. So he's going to have lost the lead to his teammate. I think Dwight Merriman might have gone through as well. It's taken him that long. Meantime, the two Acuras are absolutely together at the front of the field. Drive time now being met. Has been met by John Ferrano, by the way. We've checked back through that. Thank you, Lee Driggers, for doing the arithmetic on that one. So Tower Motorsport number 8 is okay to the end with Louis Delatraz. 90 minutes still to go, with the leaders cutting their way through traffic down onto the green for Philippe Albuquerque through the kink at turn 1. That would have been a penalty in MotoGP. It doesn't apply here. And held up, the traffic held up Tom Blomqvist for Meyershank Racing, and he's lost a load of time, a whole heap of real estate. Probably a couple of seconds there as he was trying to go through the cars that Philippe Albuquerque blasted by on the braking to the hairpin at the end of the front straight. So Blomqvist now has to try even harder, as out of what was 3rd position for LMP2. High Class Racing, Dennis Anderson in the pit lane. Shea Adam.
Very messy stop as far as the driver bringing the car into the box, because he was blocked by the Inception McLaren. Although all the work has gone on inside the parameters of the box, they are having trouble with the right rear wheel change, getting the gun to actually fasten the nut back on. Now the Inception McLaren is moving once again, but the car for Anders Fjordbach, who has taken over, is angled at the wall. Now they're running back over for a new wheel nut. Did they swap sides? No, they do just want a new wheel nut. There we go. Let's see if that one will seat better. Heaps of time being lost on this stop. The car being lowered off the air jacks. There we go. And Dennison being given the all clear to move. And he comes within about a foot of the pit wall, but Ben Keating got a lot closer than that at Sebring. So I'll give I'll give Anders credit for trying. But he manages to get back out. No damage to that car. That is good to go.
And John, we had a change as we see number 18 car off the road there. That's Dwight Merriman again, apparently. There's a change for the lead in GTD a couple laps ago.
That is second in LMP2 now, though, with Stephen Thomas's spin. So Merriman spinning or going off the road from second, and I think he's just handed that back to Stephen Thomas, who just got that 3rd place back because of Louis Delatraz is off. So LMP2 is all over the place at the moment. Oh, and there's another spin in LMP2. Montoya has just spun. He was showing in the pit lane. He spun coming into the pit lane. Juan Montoya spun coming into the pit lane. Shea Adam, if you look to your right, you'll be able to see him trying to do an Austin Powers 3-point turn.
You stole the words right from me, John. That's exactly how I was going to describe it, because Juan Montoya comes around, back end of the car, loops on him. He then pulls forward, moves into reverse to try and get it moving, goes forward again, doesn't have the lock on it to get going. Now he manages to move, but he is going to pull right back into line in front of the Inception Racing McLaren. Is this car coming back into its box? Nope, it is doing the drive-through as well. So both of those cars serving their drive-through penalties. More penalty. Yeah, that was the second penalty for Inception. What was that one?
More penalties for Inception. Improperly served penalty. Or as it says here, improperly severed penalty. That sounds a bit awful. And also, I just missed that one. I think it was the 7. What was the other one that was ahead of that? That was, let me get the race control. I think it was the 81 car that had the wheels spinning on the jacks. I think you talked about, Shane, there for that one. So you called that one as you saw it for Juan Montoya. So it's not been a good few minutes for Dragon Speed. Montoya coming in the pit lane to serve a penalty, then spun the car, stalled it, and couldn't get it pointing in the right direction. So Jeremy, LMP2 all over the place now. The only thing I think I can still tell you is that Patrick Kelly still leads it from PR1 Matheson as he goes across the line.
I think he's the only one who hasn't had a spin yet. He didn't spin at the first corner, did he?
More spins in LMP2 than in a figure skating championship.
That's right. Also, by the way, a change a few laps ago in GTD. Robbie Foley now leads from Madison Snow. After the caution period, it was Madison Snow ahead of the... he was ahead of Alex Ribras in GTD Pro Aston Martin. Then Robbie Foley was behind him. They've now switched around, so Robbie Foley in the lead of GTD behind the 5 GTD Pro cars. We're just ahead now of Madison Snow. Stephen McAleer doing an excellent job once again for Team Quarterhoff Motorsports and the Mercedes in 3rd position for car number 32. Also an excellent effort by Jaden Conwright, the IMSA Diversity Program graduate this season in car number 42, running in 4th position in GTD for NTE Sport/SSR.
And we've still got just under an hour and a half. We're not really into the money laps as yet. One full course caution for the safety car to come out, one safety car, should I say, intervention in this race so far. It is the Hyundai SportsCar Championship for the WeatherTech series at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, part of the IMSA weekend. And what a weekend we've had so far, with a couple of great Porsche races, the Lamborghinis Michelin Pilot Challenge, and the main race right now. Now it's back down to 0.6 of a second at the front of the field.
Yeah. Tom Blomqvist doing a really good job of getting through traffic, and he's closing onto the tail now again off Philip Albuquerque. The best of the Cadillacs now falling back at about 8 seconds back now. So over the course of the last 7 or 8 laps, the Acuras are pulling away 4 or 5 tenths of a second per lap over the Cadillacs. And Vautier is definitely holding up, I think. Pipo Derani and particularly Alex Lynn in that number 02 car that made that extra pit stop earlier on.
Just checking
change again in the 2nd position, then in LMP2. Stephen Thomas, after that earlier spin, has now moved ahead of Dwight Merriman, so back over into 2nd place, and a PR1 1-2 as the leader in LMP2 comes in for his service on lap 50.
And
51,
yes, the non-spinning PR1 Matheson car, though Stephen Thomas is back up to 2nd after all of those machinations recently. Shea Adam is watching what appears to be a full pit stop.
It is a full pit stop, and I gotta grab a word with Patrick Kelly, because after all of his success and his great exuberance after getting pole positions and wins in 2020, it's worth having a chat with him in person, especially since you rightly say the only LMP2 car not to spin in that opening stint. The fueling is done, the tire change is done, Josh Pearson has been installed, and the 52 is sent as the pit board is now waving for the 18 Era Motorsport LMP2 as in Dwight Merriman will be getting out of that car, and Ryan Dial, Razzle Dazzle, taking over. He was worried this morning about the car making it through turn 2. Well, it did, and it went a whole lot further, coming into the pits with the number 3 on the side. As going behind the wall is the Inception Racing McLaren. The car needs to be pushed through the cut halfway down the pit lane. The crew is, well, quite sadly doing that right now. All good on this pit stop for the 18 so far. Windshield clean for Ryan, not a tear off. They're cleaning out the air ducts in the front as well. They've got extra time. Now the fuel nozzle comes out, and the pit board is raised to just over the air scoop so that Ryan may leave. It's like the most perfect limbo bar, or what do you call it when you're dancing under the bar? Limbo, right?
Limbo, correct. Very flexible you need to be for that. My days of limbo are long gone. Long gone. Although, you know, getting in and out of low slung classic racing cars, it requires an element of flexibility that I may not have for too much longer. Josh Pearson has taken over the PR1 Matheson number 52, Ryan DL in the Era Motorsport number 18 as they rejoin, and the now new leader for LMP2, Stephen Thomas, comes into the pit lane. That means Louis Delatraz, who pitted a wee bit earlier and took the car over, the number 8 Tower Motorsport, will cycle through to the lead, and the second of the PR1 Matheson Motorsports, the pole sitting car, is with Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
With scrub Michelin's going on to this car as well for Jonathan Bomarito. The driver change is nearly complete as Jonathan gets strapped in behind the wheel of the car in his favorite track in the world. There is no visible damage to this car. A little bit of scuffage on the right rear of the body paneling, but nothing too derogatory. Let's see, car comes off the air jacks, fuel nozzle comes out, Jonathan is full to go. He wasted no time. That was a perfect stop for PR1.
Yeah, very nice. Car will rejoin in a moment or two. So the two BMWs are leading GTD at the moment. Robbie Foley for Turner, as Jeremy mentioned, has gone by a couple of 3 laps ago, pulled out a 2.3 second leads over Madison Snow in the number 1 Paul Miller racing car, 96 from 132, which is Stephen McAlee and the team called of AMG. That's your top 3 in GTD. GTD Pro, Porsche number 9 for Faf, the driveway Haggerty car, then Jack Hawksworth and Vassar Sullivan in the number 14. That's the Lexus RCF, and Jordan Taylor in the Corvette. 14 and the 3 have been out the same amount of time, but of course they have made one more pit stop. They gambled earlier on trying to make it into a 2-stop race. They will have to now stop again before the end of the race, so they have turned it into a 3-stop race, but they have got track position, which is one of our Porsche keys to the race. In LMP2, it's Louis Delatraz leading at the moment for Tower Motorsport, ahead of Josh Pearson for PR1, then Jonathan Bomarito. And now we get the DPI starting to come in again. It's Philippe Albuquerque from Tom Blomqvist, Conningham and the number 10 Acura from the 60. Same, that's an Acura from Myshak Racing. Then JDC Miller is the best of the Cadillacs, and in comes the number 31 of Pipo Derani. Shea Adam.
New tires and a new drinks bottle for Pipo, as well as a whole lot of fuel, as the car already off the air jacks waiting on the fuel at this stage. This is exactly what Chris Mitchum's boys and girls are used to. They are doing a time fuel. They had their freaking on a leash, and Chris Mitchum was holding the other end of that. Now, it was a tie-down strap, but it was tied to his belt. So as soon as he felt the pull of that, that was time to release the fuel nozzle. So what does this mean? Are we going to the end with one more stop from here? I think so for DPI.
I agree. Just about.
Just about.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's why the car came in right then. They think with an hour and 18 minutes remaining, 78 minutes, they can do about 40 minutes on a tank. So yes, one more pit stop for the number 31 car, and by making that stop right now, it puts everybody else under a little bit of pressure, because if there is now a full force caution before these other cars come into the pits, then the pits will be closed. The number 31 car will go from a 4th position to the lead when everybody else comes in. So I would anticipate the other DPI cars onto the pit lane next time around.
Yeah. And JDC Miller Motorsport are up on the wall already. That, Jeremy, is that old thing of triggering. When somebody does one thing, you've got to decide whether you're going to be completely different or whether you have to follow them, isn't it?
Indeed, that's exactly right. So you don't want to get caught out by anybody else here, and that's the danger that these Acura cars will come in now. Nothing to lose at all for the number 31 team to come in and make their pit stop. They're going to go out and fresh their tyres, and I'm surprised that both of the Acuras are going to stay out. The good news is they had an 11-second advantage over all the Cadillacs, so they have a little bit of time in hand over the Cadillacs, but over each other they don't. But as I say, if there is a full force caution, this will come back to bite those that are not pitting right now.
Mistake in the final corner by Tristan Fortier, just locked up. So he was going through traffic, and that might give an opportunity for Alex Lynn. Alex really doesn't need any second invitation. He's coming from a long way back into the Andretti hairpin. Can't get down the inside, not quite close enough. Nice driving by Fortier and Lynn there. The opportunity seen by Lynn, but he didn't push it too hard.
No, that's right, John. And Fortier is struggling a little bit right now. He's losing. He was losing about 3 or 4 tenths of a second of that to the leading cars. Last time round he lost 2 seconds. I think much of that was down to traffic, but still he's struggling, and Alex Lynn has the faster car, but he's frustrated, I'm sure, to be stuck behind Vautier. He was behind the number 31 car as well, so the good news is for the 02 car, number 31 car is out of its hair, but he's still going to find a way past number 5, Tristan Vautier, which is going to be easier said than done.
Yes. Yeah. Into the pit lane, Tom Blomqvist from second position. So Jeremy was wondering why the Acuras haven't come in. We have got Taker and Shea Adam has company.
And these guys are good at getting ready pretty quickly, because when I walked by, they were still smiling and lounging around, just enjoying this beautiful California day. But now it is fuel, tires, and a drinks bottle change for Tom Blomqvist. Also into the pit lane is the Mustang sampling Cadillac of Tristan Vautier. Let's see. Aha! A wild Richard Westbrook is spotted up on the wall. Well, who knows if he's wild? He is wearing pink-colored shoes, so fuel save to the end of this one, maybe. They're doing fuel and tires on the Mustang sampling Cadillac, just waiting on the fuel at this stage of the pit stop. 24, 25, 26. So the fuel nozzle was attached for 25 seconds. That is not a full fuel. It's a 30-second full fuel for the Acura. Maybe they were doing a little bit of fuel saving. Let's see, they're already up to 25, 26, 27 on the Cadillac. So Vautier used a little bit more fuel than the Acura did. Interesting.
Yeah, we talked about track position in the Porsche Keys to Race, and off has gone the 0-2. Alex Lynn has put the Cadillac from Chip Ganassi Racing, the black front and red rear, into the wall. Now, if he doesn't get that going, we'll have a full course caution. The leader is in. Albuquerque is already into the pit lane. Looks like turn 6 to me. Yes, it is. And Alex Lynn's got reverse. That's the first big tick. He's keeping the revs down, and he is going to get it going. He's lost track position and moves out back onto the circuit. So that will continue. Wow, big moment there in so many different ways. Leader in the pit lane, Chip.
That's the championship leader who's in strife out on the track as the race leader into the pits. It is already 20 seconds elapsed to this stop for Philippe Albuquerque. Brilliant work by Wayne Taylor's boys and girls to get the tires changed somewhat effortlessly. 24 seconds of fuel for Albuquerque, leading the race, controlling the pace, and saving fuel. Is there anything that Superman can't do?
No. Well, that was a big moment there for Alex Lynn. He's come straight into the pit lane. That's not Alex Lynn in that car, is it? In the 0-2. Oh, yes, it is. My apologies. Been in since in that number 0-2 car for a wee while. So, yes, he's into the pit lane. Not sure there's any damage on that car. The battle at the front of the field is on, and Blomqvist will go through and take the lead. He does do it. He'd had a lap more on his Michelin tyres, so a lap more heat in the tyres, Jeremy, to Tom Blomqvist. So the performance advantage was with Meyershank Racing, and Tom Blomqvist has taken advantage of that, and Philippe Albuquerque on his outlap has given up the lead.
Yeah, indeed. And I think great strategy there by Meyershank Racing, taking advantage of new tyres. If you can get them up to speed quickly. Look, I think Alex Lynn, he was told you've got to push these next couple of laps before you make your pit stop, and I think he probably overstepped the mark. It's very easy to do on the exit, on the entry to turn 6. You have to get up on that inside, on the outside curb, and it always unsettles the car, however fast the car is. I haven't driven one of these cars this fast through there, of course, but it's easy to do. You get on that outside curb turning into the corner. When the car comes off that, it easily gets loose, because there's kind of a little bit of a dip, a kind of a camber to help you through the corner once you've turned in. But if you miss it by a fraction, it's easy to run wide. And I think he was just pushing too hard to try and take advantage of those hot tyres before he made what would have been his next pit stop. But this would be very, very costly for kind of a 0-2.
Alex Lynn is taking that car back out of the pit lane. Shea Adam watched that car as it came in. It went off pretty hard, pretty quickly rather, Shea, at turn 6, and made a bit of contact with the outside barrier. Was there front damage on that car?
There was significant front damage, and John, part of the problem was that the entire crew was standing on the wall waiting for him to come in, so they didn't know that they needed a new nose until halfway through the stop. By that point, it was too late to run over the wall and grab a new one. They have not yet secured it. Earl Bamber is installed behind the wheel of the car now, and he was on the wall as confused as anyone was, because, of course, no communication when a driver is helmeted waiting on the wall. They don't know what's going on, so when he saw the damage to the front of the car, it was a big surprise to him, and his eyes got very wide. Alex just climbed up on the pit stand. I'm going to let him cool off for a minute and then try and be brave and stick a mic under his nose.
Right, if you're watching the Alcamel timing online, then it still says Alex Lynn there, so maybe the team haven't changed over the driver identifier, but it is Earl Bamber. I was just about to say, if Alex Lynn had took that car back out again, we're getting perilously close for driver times for that car, because he's been in since the start. Actually, of course, it's only 10 minutes, isn't it, for DPI and GTD Pro, so actually they're not, but it is Earl Bamber behind the wheel, and that makes a lot of sense. That makes sense. And so an hour and 10 minutes to go. Across the line, Blomqvist, Albuquerque, Durrani, Westbrook and Earl Bamber now behind the wheel of that car. And IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, start thinking as well about any points arising you have, questions that you want to ask, any clarifications, or just anything that you've noticed over this IMSA racing weekend here at the Hyundai Monterey SportsCar Championship. Whether it was this race or any of the others we've covered this weekend. Looking ahead to the next round as well, if you wish. Hashtag Michelin PRT for Michelin post-race test at IMSA Radio, exclusively live after the checkered flag here on IMSA Radio. We'll give up the World Feed TV. Once that's gone, we'll continue, especially for you, on IMSA Radio RS2 via imsaradio.com. Right, Jeremy, coming down to the last hour, an hour and 9 minutes to go. Blomqvist now by 2.7 seconds from Albuquerque. Durrani set on stun mode, I would think. Richard Westbrook and Earl Bamber, and it does say now Earl Bamber on my screen in front of me. That's your top five. They're separated by, what, 50 seconds. That's not an awful lot of time round here, is it?
It's not, no. But Earl Bamber's got an awful lot of work to do if he's going to catch up. He's going to need a full course caution, no question, to get himself back into contention after that mistake. Here's a GTD battle there. Side by side, they're going to be coming off the Marandretti hairpin. And Madison Snow there wisely backed off the corner just a little bit. If he'd kept the throttle in, he would most likely have understeered, because that's the trait of that part of the racetrack, into the side of the Turner Motorsport BMW. He didn't want to do that, so discretion, the better part of valor there for Madison Snow. He maintains that second position, and right behind them, well, a couple of seconds behind them, on the road now is the third place car in GTD. That's Stephen McAleer in the Team Korthoff Mercedes, and only a second or so behind him is Daniel Morad, who's moved up now as a result of, Jaden Conwright is next, right with Stephen McAleer. And then next is Daniel Morad. Jeff Westphal just making a pit stop in number 39 Carbahn Lamborghini.
Yeah, that car just coming out the pits now. They spent this morning in the warm-up in the pit lane, but not going out on the track. They pushed the car behind the wall with about 5 minutes up and 20 minutes to go. They've been practicing driver changes in the pit lane. On the spot, I thought, use of the time this morning. Blomqvist then in traffic, going under the front straight bridge. Dives down the inside of the number 8, Louis Delatraz, leading LMP2 car. Who would have thought that when that was facing the wrong direction earlier on for John Ferrano? Bit of clever strategy, Jeremy. Got them back on the lead lap when we had that first caution.
Indeed, so yeah, they stayed out when everybody else came in to get that lap back, and then that was the first car to come onto the pit lane to make the driver change right at the 1 hour mark. As Lee Driggers pointed out, a few seconds was the margin there between meeting that minimum drive time of 1 hour and not doing so. So they call that just right. However, I wonder whether that number 8 car might need to make one more pit stop than the other contenders in LMP2. That is a trade-off. The lead between them right now is about, it's stabilised at about 40 seconds. That's a little bit less. It's Josh Pearson has just set the fastest lap of the race. No, he hasn't. His best lap of the race in LMP2, beg your pardon, his best lap of the race, which is actually a couple of seconds behind Louis Delatraz.
Pearson in the second place, number 52, PR1 Matheson Motorsport machine.
did hear that right, a couple of seconds. A super fast lap there for Louis Delatraz, 1 minute 16.551. That is actually just outside, about a tenth and a half outside the lap record for LMP2 that was set last year by Mikkel Jensen in one of the PR1 Matheson Motorsports cars. Pit stops now for our GTD leaders.
And Shea Adam is down there.
But we've got GTD Pro in the form of the 25 Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan BMW. That's Connor DeFilippi taking over for John Edwards. We've got Stephen McAleer out of the Team Cawthorne Mercedes. Dirk Mueller is filling in this week for Mike Ski. And if you haven't joined us for any of the sessions so far this week, Dirk, a very able replacement, but we do miss Mike. We've got Bill Oberlin in the Turner BMW, now the number 96, and Jaden Conroy finally in the NTE SSR Lamborghini, taking over for him. Marco Holzer, another one of those guys we're really happy to see back in this paddock. But I'm going to try and scrounge up some interviews. Alex Lynn was not up to talking. I completely understand at this point. I'll go back to him before the end of the race, though.
Yeah, all of a sudden the two Acuras are back together again, John, aren't they? After the pass was made by Tom Blomqvist, he pulled out a couple of seconds, took advantage of the fact he was really quick on cold tyres to pull out a margin, but now that margin has disappeared, and Philip Albuquerque is actually ahead, isn't he?
Albuquerque
made that change.
Albuquerque's leading. Albuquerque's leading from Blomqvist in second place.
Yeah, let's have a look, see what happened. That was on that lap. Ooh, wow. At the corkscrew.
Bit of a mistake, I think, by Blomqvist while he was defending. They were in traffic, and right behind the high-class racing Anders Fjordbach, driven number 20. They were also putting a lap on the Corvette number 3, Jordan Taylor. They were all trying to stay out of the way. Got a bit untidy at the top there, and I think it was just actually there was a side-by-side contact, a little bit of hip and shoulder there from Philippe Albuquerque. Now, we've seen that penalised earlier on the weekend, and then again at the left-hander going down the hill. I was about to say I thought maybe just picked the wrong side of the Corvette from Tom Blomqvist, but he was gently ushered off the track by Philippe Albuquerque, and then again a little bit of bumping and barging down through turn 9 as they went down the hill. I wonder if that will be looked at. We saw some side-by-side contact in the support races looked at and penalised earlier on this weekend. Hasn't come up, yes it is, under review. 60 and 10, under review, just come up on the race control channel. Oof, well, this could be more controversy, or at least another talking point for hashtag Michelin PRT. Down in the pit lane, Shea Adam with GTD stops and 2 leaders in GTD Pro.
Oh gosh, well, unfortunately they were doing the driver change for the 23. The fuel hose was attached and the driver change was going on, which meant that no one had pressure on the brakes. The car rolling backwards with the fuel nozzle attached for about at least 2 or 3 feet. That is going on right now. Alex is out, Ross is in, so that's Rivera Gun. 4 new tires with stickers on them and a lot of fuel. We just had Pfaff Motorsport into the pit lane with their Porsche. Jam Jam out, Campbell is in, so I'm going to try and grab Jam Jam. It's the sound of the Aston Martin getting going again. That was Jan Halen in for fuel and sticker tires in the Wright Motorsport Porsche as well. And we did have the number 1 Palmetto Racing Lamborghini into the pits a lap ago. That's Brian Sellers taking over from Madison Snow. And it looked like he got out ahead of Bill Oberlin in the Turner Motorsport BMW, but Bill was going to be on hot tires.
That's going to be very interesting indeed. Now, got to keep an eye on what's going on at race control as the leaders are carving their way past Paul Miller Racing's BMW, and now up to the leader in class, which is the third place in class rather, which is Bill Oberlin. Daniel Morad for Allegra leads GTD, but also a stop, I think, as does Catherine Legg. It's a good run from Team Hardpoint, actually. They've worked the strategy quite nicely. In the pit lane now is the number 3 Corvette, which was leading on the pit stop cycle when they came into the pit lane. It was Jordan Taylor who brought the car in, and Antonio Garcia is his teammate. of course. Shea Adam is watching that one. That looked the usual Corvette Racing, very excellent and well-rehearsed pit stop, Shea.
Yep, very standard for Corvette Racing. Fuel tires and Antonio Garcia installed behind the wheel. 3 times a winner here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The first of which came 10 years ago, the last of which came 8 years ago. So 3 times in a row and nothing since.
Exactly 1 hour to go, Jeremy, and this battle at the front of the field shows no signs of letting up. Albuquerque and Blomqvist, Koenig Minolta Acura versus Meyershank Racing Acura, 6 tenths between them, and then ran about 8 seconds back to Pipo Derani, who's wringing some lap times out of the Whelen Engineering Cadillac, which really hasn't been that close to the pace, and 3rd place at the moment for them is very good indeed. We'll come back to that thought in a moment after we've heard from Mathieu Jaminet down in the pit lane with Shea Adam.
Well, Matthew, it's been a very good opening to the race. It seemed like even when people tried to jump you on tricky strategy, the Porsche just fought to the front. Is that number 9 Fat Porsche really that strong?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, the car is really amazing, the best it's been all weekend. I think, yeah, the Corvette played a different strategy with the Lexus, but they had a really good restart and directly jumped in the last corner. So, yeah, from there on, I just tried to push really hard, just gave it everything I had, and tried to make a gap to give the car in the best shape to Matt and go to the end. So, we'll see, but it was a fun stint.
Are you going to be nervous during the end of this race, or do you know that your car is strong enough to hold the others back?
Sorry, I could not really hear you.
That's all right. Are you going to be nervous until the end of this race, or do you think that your car has enough to hold the others back?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we look really strong until now, so I mean, let's see how it goes, but I really hope so.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Mathieu Jaminet out of Porsche number 9, the Pfaff driveway Haggerty machine, and that car now in the hands of Matt Campbell, and is still scored as the leader in that category. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because the GTD Pro cars, they've all made what should be, well, they hope will be their final stop. It's going to be awfully tight, isn't it, from here? But you know, they're all made the same number of stops, I think, for the GTD Pro cars, at least in terms of scheduled stops. And so Matty Campbell leads again, as he was before the round of pit stops, from Ben Barnicat and the Lexus in 2nd position. And Conor De Filippi has managed to get past Antonio Garcia during that round of pit stops. So that was a change for 3rd position, 3rd and 4th then. The BMW ahead now of the Corvette in 4th. And for some reason, 23 car seems to have lost out a fair bit during that pit stop sequence.
Yeah, that's the Heart of Racing car, Ross Gunn.
Yeah. It was in 5th, but it's now a little bit further behind in 5th than it was before.
Slightly slow stop for that car, looking at the times.
There you go.
Didn't see a problem with that, but these things add up, and we've said this many times before, Jeremy, haven't we, in Michelin post-race tech, which is coming up in around about 55 minutes time. The quality of competition here is that you cannot afford to give away any time on the track or in the pit lane, because if you do, that is going to be immediately noticeable on the timing screen, and that's what you've just picked up for the 23 Heart of Racing Aston.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they are so close. It is incredible. You know, whether or not it's GTD Pro or GTD, as you've talked about many times this week, they are the same specifications of cars. They're not all different cars, but they're all made to be pretty equal in terms of lap times and performance. So that's exactly what is the case. So a few extra seconds lost in the pits, that's cost him what, 3 positions on the racetrack, and it's going to be difficult to make those up again, because Bill Oberlin, who has made a stop fairly recently, and Brian Sellers has taken over from Madison Snow. So Oberlin in for Foley, Sellers in for Snow, Jeff Westphal up into 3rd position, therefore in car number 39, except for the fact that Daniel Morad, He leads now in car number 28, and Catherine Legg in the hardpoint number 99 Porsche have yet to make their kind of next pit stop, if you like.
New to the team called off Motorsport Mercedes, Dirk Muller drafted in earlier this week. He's taken over. Stephen McAleer is out of the car and talking to Shea Adam at the 32 AMG pit.
Stephen, you weren't feeling great yesterday, so you didn't drive the Mercedes except for qualifying, but you did get a trophy in another race, so clearly that cleared you up and made you feel better. Driving this Mercedes, though, that's the best medicine you can get, right?
Yeah, you know, it was nice. I thought I was going to do the minimum time here, you know, 45 minutes or so, and the guy said my pace was good, and they asked me if I wanted to do a double stint. Of course I'm going to say yes, and I love Dirk, but I want some more time. Get my own back for yesterday, but you know, we're having a blast there. I had fun with Madison and Robbie for the front there, and you know, obviously Dirk's been around. He's no joke. We'll see if we can bring it home for us.
Still fighting for this championship. How much is that weighing in the back of your mind?
You know, in all honesty, the way these races have gone, I think the aggression level is up, and it's about keeping the car clean. And really, I'm taking one race at a time. I mean, we're not even thinking about a championship right now. I want to see Mike back here, and we'll get some wins with Mike. But really hard to pass, and it's all about track position. So we'll run around and see where we are in an hour.
How competitive is it in GTD? Because you've really come into the fire.
You know, I was just telling the guys there, like, I love it. You know, I've got Robbie and Madison in front of me. I have a Lamborghini behind me, and it's nose to tail for 45 minutes. And, you know, you think the guy behind you is better than you, and you think the guy in front is better than you, but nobody's going anywhere. So, you know, it's a ton of fun, and you just pick up on a little mistake from somebody. It's really the only shot you have, and obviously we made a good pit stop and keep it tidy, so we'll see.
Hey, good luck the rest of the way, and no more fish on Friday night, okay?
Yeah, Alaskan halibut for anyone out here. No, thank you.
Stephen McAleer with dietary advice to Shea Adam down there in the pit lane. The court of Mercedes with Dirk Muller at the wheel. Mike Skeen not able to drive this week. Dirk Muller brought in, but Mike's still on the top shelf, as we are now going to call it. That is outstanding. The top shelf now, and still involved with the team, Jeremy. And to be honest, it's, you know, you're not bringing in a rookie, a rabbit as they used to call them, in Dirk Muller, and he was very quick in the early sessions this week. And if he's going to close out the race, that car's still got a good shot at it, down in 7th at the moment.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I completely agree with you on that score. You don't count anybody out at this stage in the race. Pipo Derani here running in 3rd position. He's losing still ground to the 2 Acuras ahead of him. 10 laps ago, the gap was about 5 seconds. It's now 12 between Tom Blomqvist in 2nd position and Pipo Derani in 3rd in that Whelen Engineering Cadillac. But this would be a good result for them because they struggled through the opening stint. Tristan Nunez fell back a long way from the rest of the field, but Pipo Derani into a groove now. Good strategy by this team. Got it up into 3rd position and taking full advantage of that. And he in turn is edging away from Richard Westbrook, who's in 4th place now, so in danger of losing that streak of podium finishes. Earl Bamber, he's really not making any progress at all. He's 50 seconds behind the rest of the field in the 02 Cadillac. In LMP2, however, Louis Delatraz was into the pits a little while ago and gave up the lead to Josh Pearson, but Delatraz is absolutely flying. He's pulling 2 seconds a lap on Josh Pearson. At least, actually, it was 3 seconds last time around, and he has set a new lap record 3 or 4 laps ago. Louis Delatraz in LMP2, 1 minute 16.216, so a 10.5 quicker than the old record for Louis Delatraz, who's absolutely flying in that number 8 car for Tower Motorsport.
That's LMP2, and that's our VP Racing Fuel in-race update for the prototype category. Shea Adam, hard point in the pit lane, doing a driver change.
They're putting Rob Ferriol back into this Porsche. I'm not sure if maybe he definitely met minimum drive time. All right, he's getting himself resituated. Fuel nozzle is out. He's got 4 scrubbed Michelins. I don't think they're anywhere close to new, to be perfectly honest, but let me ask the team and find out why they did that.
They can go to the end from here, I would say, in that GTD car. It'll be tight, but 50 minutes, it's doable. I would have thought Catherine would have been installed to the end when she got in. Maybe she's having a problem, or the car was having a problem. Let's find out and not speculate. GTD led by Allegra Motorsports number 28. In fact, that is the leading GT car, in 12th position overall for Daniel, the number 28. Then that battle in GTD Pro. Matt Campbell has 12 seconds on Ben Barnicoat in the number 14 Vassar Sullivan RCF Lexus. Then Conor De Filippi's 1.3 seconds further back, and Antonio Garcia 5 seconds further behind in the 4th position. The other GTD category cars, Bill Oberlin in second in GTD. He's got a second over Brian Sellers, who's got 3 seconds over Jeff Westphal. So two BMWs and the Carbon Lamborghini battle for second, third and fourth. But way up the road, Daniel Morad. Adam, have you found out what the issue was down at Hardpoint, and why Rob Foriol, the former Marine, has been put back in that car?
Yeah, they're a little nervous about minimum drive time. They're not convinced that they met it. And remember, they pitted during the caution after everybody else pitted for the GT cars. They came back in. They were with 3 other cars. Who were the other 2 cars? Because now I'm curious as to if we have 3 GTD cars that perhaps would have missed the minimum drive time, and if 2 of them still might.
Well, Daniel Morad is in from the lead of GTD, and that's a full service and a driver change for Allegra. So it'll be Michael De Casada getting back into that car. So here we go, Shay. Maybe this is what we've been talking about. As that car
is that? Yep, that's Michael back in.
Back out, and that is definitely the black helmet of Michael De Casada as he goes back up the pit lane. So now Jeremy needs to go back and look at his pit notes and find out who were the other cars who came in around the same time. That's going to elevate Bill Oberlin and Turner Motorsport to the lead, and what a cracking battle we've got there between the 2 BMWs in GTD, the 96 Turner Motorsport car, and Brian Sellers now for the number 1 Paul Miller Motorsport car. Meantime, in LMP2, how about this for a battle for the lead? Jeremy Shaw pointed out that Louis Delatraz has been tearing up the track here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He's now got the blue and white number 52 of Josh Pearson in the sight of the tangerine and black Tower Motorsport number 8. They're heading down the hill towards turn 10, and target is acquired for Louis Delatraz. Don't even bother playing the George music. This is just going to be when, not if, Jeremy. This has been a super drive by Delatraz.
Yeah, really impressive. He's been closing in on Pearson by more than 2 seconds a lap. That is seriously impressive. So who's also turning some good laps is Juan Pablo Montoya, who's just gone quicker again, actually, in his car. He's just, I think, made a pit stop in that number 81 car. And I don't think he can get to the end of the race from here, so that's a little bit early for a pit stop from number 81. But he'd been turning quick laps as well in the high 16s, 116.8 was the fastest lap for Juan Pablo Montoya against the 116.2 for Louis Delatraz.
Do we think, Jeremy, who do we think in GTD has got to stop again? Pretty much everybody at the front of the field. Because it seems a while ago since Oberlin, Sellers and Westphal were installed in those cars, and we've still got 46 minutes to go. They can do
10 laps to go.
Yeah, so they are going to have to splash, aren't they?
Honestly, I didn't make a note of when they came into the pits.
It's going to be very tight, let me put it that way. Hello to John Trainer in the US and listening on IMSA Radio, where you can also find us on Sirius XM 207, of course, for all of our race coverage in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Thank you for the kind words, John. Into the pit lane, Tom Blomqvist from second place with 46 minutes to go. My, that's right on the edge of where these cars could go to in the DPI. 40 to 44 minutes, and there's 47 minutes on the clock now. Shea Adam is down at MSR.
Oh boy, that's going to be tight. Remember, it's an uphill run to the finish line. How many cars have we seen parked sadly just short of the finish line, but it is fuel and tires for Tom. Not a drinks bottle change this time, not a windshield tear off, at least not yet. The car is on the rev limiter waiting. Now it gets moving, so Tom Lundqvist should not come back to the pit lane during this race. Wow, that's a bit close.
Very nice stop by Michael Shank Racing, one of a number of teams this weekend who have been keeping an eye on what was going on at Barber Motorsport. Oh, almost went off the track on the exit. Oh, that would not be the first, and I'm sure it won't be the last time, but Tom Blomqvist just about kept it on the island as he went through the sharp left-hander at the end of the pit lane. The pit lane speed limiter is off just beyond the bridge there, the walkover bridge. But you've got to be careful, particularly on cold new tyres. I bet we've all done it on sims and driving games, haven't we? Understeered off into the dirt there. Tom Blomqvist nearly did it and has managed to pull it back. Pipo Durrani, second place, comes into the pit lane, having just inherited that. And this is 44.5 minutes, so this should be the last pit stop for the Whelen Engineering Cadillac share.
Yes, it should be, and it is fuel and new tires for Pipo Durrani. Just looking up, nope, no leash on the fueler this time. This is put as much as you possibly can into the tank. Now, let's see if it does go anywhere near the full capacity of 30 seconds. It should be a shorter stop because the last stop, yep, 23. Very good stop from the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. The last stop was timed. This one is good to go, and now we wait for the 10, the Koenig Minolta Acura. They're the next car that's going to come into the pit lane, and the fueler looks like the most important guy up on that wall, although there are 4 new Michelin, lightly scrubbed Michelins up on the wall for Philippe Albuquerque.
Yeah, and Albuquerque just had, I think, one of the PR1 Matheson cars, it might have been Josh Pearson, go off ahead of him the last time around as he came past the pit entrance. This time he pulls off to the left-hand side and heads with the Koenig Minolta Cadillac, the black on the front, gloss black on the front, and then that lovely light blue colour comes in. The number 1 illuminated on the side. This should be their last pit stop, Shea, Adam.
It should be, and guess who followed them in? Well, if it isn't old fluffy pink bunny slippers Westy down the pit lane for JDC Cadillac, they are going to be doing fuel and tires as well. The tire change very nearly done for the Koenig Minolta Acura, just waiting on fuel. The car drops off the air jack in 15 seconds. 16 seconds worth of fuel! That's all they took! Oh my goodness, I haven't seen that low of a number in a very long time, but it wasn't that long since they were last in here, but Philippe must be saving fuel like a madman. Westy is getting fuel and new tires, still doing the tire change on that Cadillac. Fuel nozzle is still attached, and just to give you some comparison, I'll let you know what that number is when he dropped off the air jacks and pulled away. That was 25, so that is the difference in time. 9 seconds more worth of fuel going in the Cadillac than the Acura. That's substantial.
Couple of things we need to pick up on there with Jeremy Shaw here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. First of all, I'll clarify the pink fluffy bunny slippers comment from Shea there a few years ago here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Richard Westbrook did an exceptional fuel save job for Ford with the GT to win the race when everybody, and I mean everybody, us in the booth with all of the strategy software, everybody up and down pit lane, all of their competitors thought they had to stop again, and somehow Richard Westbrook used the Eco part of the EcoBoost Ford engine very, very well indeed, and we joked that he must have put his slippers, pink fluffy-eared slippers on to get that kind of mileage out. He was touching the pedal so softly. Secondly, that's an interesting tactic by Koenig Minolta and Philippe Albuquerque. Didn't need to come to the pit lane, Jeremy, and that's obvious by the fact that they only put 16 seconds, 17 seconds worth of fuel in to that car, but they had to do that to stop themselves getting caught on the wrong side of a safety car, and also to try and mitigate the Meyer Shank racing car, which is now right back behind them again.
Yeah, I still think the Meyer Shank car is going to struggle to get to the end. I mean, you know, he's
totally
out
agree.
there.
That was 47 minutes, Jeremy.
Pardon?
47 minutes.
It was 46 about 46, I think it was, to go to the end, and that's certainly pushing it. You know, on the previous stop, that was definitely a time stop. We saw that they were trying to get out ahead of the number 10 car by short fueling last time around. Okay, fine, but this time then they just brim it. But have they cut it a little bit short? It's certainly going to be very, very fine, I believe, for the number 60 car to get to the end of this race from here. The number 10 car has 2 laps more fuel aboard than the number 60, and I think that could be critical.
40 minutes to go. And don't forget, hashtag Michelin PRT for post-race tech. Checkered flag ends the race, of course, but when he starts the conversation, Shane, Jeremy and myself will be staying on exclusively live on IMSA Radio RS2 to answer your questions and try and make sense of what we've seen this weekend. Battle for the lead, turned up to 11 through turn 3 now, under the Michelin Bridge, with the Antonio Garcia driven Corvette right in front of them. Now through turn 4, here's a chance for Blomqvist. Leader has to go slightly offline. Blomqvist follows him into turn 5, tries to look down the inside. Just showing the nose of that pink, white and blue Meyershank racing machine, the AutoNation Sirius XM machine. Behind the Koenig Minolta sponsored car, to the top of the hill of the corkscrew, more traffic. Right ahead of them is the number 25 Connor De Filippi driven BMW M Team RLL, sitting in a podium position at the moment. He steers to driver's left and then just has to move out a little bit, and that's cost time for Tom Blomqvist. Down to the final corner, more traffic in between the leaders. This will be really frustrating, Tom. But now he clears the Lexus. It's on the front straight. Well, this, Jeremy, you can't call this because a slight slip up by Philippe Albuquerque in traffic. We talked about traffic, didn't we, in our Porsche keys to the race. Michelin Countdown to Green. There's no room for any mistakes here at all between these two drivers. Same chassis, same engine, same tyres. A little bit more work on the tyres from Blomqvist than from Philippe Albuquerque, and I wonder how hard Blomqvist can push and how long he can push at full fuel and full map, because he was in quite a bit earlier for his final fuel stop.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the critical thing here. I mean, yeah, he was going for the win. They were trying to cut it as finely as they possibly could, but there certainly isn't much in reserve, that's for sure, in that number 60 car right now. And they've done a super job to get themselves into contention. And once again, you know, that Meyershank with Kerr-Bagajani team, they're not afraid to try a slightly different strategy if it'll work in their favour. It's tended not to the last few times they've tried it, but we'll see what happens here right now. But all of a sudden, that number 10 car has got a pretty handy lead over the number 60, and I think it's going to be very difficult to rein that back in again.
What do you make of Durrani 15 seconds further back, and he is the best of the Cadillacs? All right, the Bamba car would have been a bit closer, but for the Alex Lynn off, of course, the 0-2, and we haven't had Bourdais in the 0-1 because of its electrical problems earlier on. If you're wondering why we're not talking about Renger van der Zande and Sebastian Bourdais in the Cadillac V Performance Academy Chip Ganassi car. We expected the Acuras to be strong here. They have been particularly strong, and Durrani seems to me to be absolutely wringing the performance out of that Cadillac.
Yeah, but you know, it's not a match for the Acuras here, and it hasn't been the last several years. You know, we've talked about it earlier that the Acuras have been the car to beat here at this race. So everybody knows that, and we heard it particularly from, I think it was Ricky. Was it Ricky Taylor or was it Philip Albuquerque telling us before the start of the race?
Yeah, it was Ricky.
The Acura team has to capitalise on the fact that this is an Acura favoured track, as is the next round at Mid-Ohio, by the way. So you know, they're both going to be pushing super hard to try and get that win there. The Long Beach racetrack, that definitely favours the Cadillacs. Sure enough, Cadillacs were the winners there quite comfortably, and here it favours the Acuras. And again, the Acuras, assuming they can keep it together from here, are going to have a pretty handy lead over everybody else. But you have to maximise your advantages and take advantage of any opportunities that present themselves. That's exactly what the Acura teams are doing right now.
Gareth Evans, who's working in his workspace, I think we've got to call it, as well equipped as the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre in terms of screens and facilities. Gareth, I've seen your pictures, and there's the advantage, he's a model maker, and he likes to make his models while watching and listening to IMSA. Gareth, thanks for joining us. I'm not going to disagree with this at all. He says there's nothing better in motor racing than watching prototypes racing through the lower classes. So I raced in Dallara in iRacing, the 217. I wish I had skills from this. I'm watching the onboard of the number 60 Tom Blomqvist Mershank racing car via IMSA.tv, and you can pick a couple of onboards on there. That's all free to you as well. He says the skill level is out of this world. The pictures are superb. Gareth, thank you for tweeting that to us. Whether you're in the US or further afield, there's always the onboards available to you, and of course the international TV feed available outside the US in territories that don't have a network TV feed for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar races. Just under 35 minutes to go. I want to go back down to Shea, Adam. We were musing rather than speculating about the 99 Hardpoint Porsche coming in and the 28 Allegra AMG coming in earlier on, and why Shea they might have done that. Along with Lee Driggers, you've been doing a little bit of digging around about drive time there.
They were 55 seconds short on Rob Ferriel and Michael Lee Casada's drive times. I was trying to find Nathan Moore. He's actually not around, but Spencer Pompelli is up on the pit box for Allegra. They missed it by that much, so they came back in and put their starting drivers back into the cars. But I would have sworn another car came in with them at the same time. Maybe there wasn't a driver change taking place, but I'll have to go back and look through the pit notes after the race and see why I feel like another GTD car was in.
Thank you, Shea. Good hustle, and thank you to Lee Driggers. The information there as well. Marcos Milonas Peregrine looking good, sitting in third place at the moment. Carbon, you're absolutely right. Marcos, Jeff Westphal just a second or so behind Brian Sellers, who's 2 seconds now behind Bill Oberlin. That's a nice little battle there, Jeremy, for the GT3 podium. Top three are all within, what, 3 seconds really?
Maybe a couple of seconds over Brian Sellers in second position. Jeff Westphal right there, and that number 39 Carbon with Peregrine Racing Team, they called that strategy. Remember that caution period, the first caution period, or the early caution period of the race to date, was right around about that minimum drive time limit, and the number 39 team did not come into the pits with everybody else. They stayed out 2 more laps under that caution before making their stop. And that meant they were able to make their driver change having completed the minimum drive time. Everybody that came in before that is going to be struggling on the drive time, and that's, I think, why we're seeing these other teams having that difficulty. And I think it could be, you know, it was very, very close when they came into the pits during that caution period to take on service and to make their driver change.
Just a note about the sad loss of a former competitor in IMSA recently, Dave Robertson of Robertson Racing, who we sadly lost recently. We pass our condolences on to Andrea, with whom he raced, of course, and the rest of the family. The classic GT Ford GT Le Mans car is going up for sale shortly. We miss Dave and Andrea in the paddock, and sadly we won't get to see Dave again. Brilliant people, lovely enthusiasts, remember them at Le Mans as well, and they'll be missed. Many friends in this and other paddocks around the world, and we pass on our best to all the friends, and particularly Andrea and the family of Dave Robertson, who passed away since the last time we were racing in IMSA. Alan Prosser and Phil as well, Jeremy, saying this is a So this is a track for Acura. I'll come back to that in just a wee moment, as Jan Heerlen's trying to get past, and has in fact got past, Ross Gunn for position in the overall, but not in class, of course. That's GT and GTD, and was then doing a bit of blocking to make sure that Ross couldn't get back through. They're going up through turn 5 now, and still at it with the number 20 of Anders Fjordbach, the high class prototype LMP2 car, going back through. We talk, this is going to get nasty between these two if they're not careful. Two very experienced drivers. Ross Gunn just squeezing through on the inside at the top of the hill. That is for 19th and 20th position. Ross goes back into 19th. He's the leader coming through here, not what he wants to see. Two GT cars battling right in front of him. Gets held up a little bit by the Aston, and that allows Tom Blomqvist to close in again. It's under a second again all of a sudden. Accurate track we've been seeing, Jeremy. Why is that? Is it the wheelbase? Is it the engine characteristics? Everybody at Acura told us that Long Beach, a point and squirt track, wasn't where they were. The car likes fast, sweeping, mid to high speed corners. Is that an aero thing, do we think, on this particular Acura that makes it so good around here?
It is a great question. It's a combination of factors. I think the engine, I think, is, it's a little bit smaller, isn't it, in the Acura than the Cadillac. The 3.5 litre V6 turbo of the Acura gets a 5.5 litre V8 in the Cadillac. I think it's got a perhaps as a result of that, perhaps being the opposite word here, a slightly lower centre of gravity, and it just seems to it works on the natural road courses a little bit better than the Cadillac. As you say, the Cadillac certainly takes advantage of the point and squirt tracks like Long Beach, like Detroit. It's always super fast there, but the faster flowing circuits tend to suit the Acuras, and that's what we've seen here. But again, Albuquerque unable to pull away from Tom Blomqvist here. 93 laps in the books now. We've got just over a half an hour remaining in this race, and nothing to choose between those top two, but they continue to pull away from the third place car of Pipo Derani.
I think it's something to do with minimum corner speed. I'm sure somebody who's far cleverer than I am would explain it, but keeping that minimum, the slow speed that you go through the corner, the higher that is at tracks, the better the Acuras seem to like it. Whether that's a torque characteristic of the engine, whether it's the aero versus mechanical grip, or a combination of all those things, I'm not sure. But as Jeremy said, the Cadillacs do seem to like the pointy squirty, slow down, speed up, and they've got the big 5.5. Remember, it was toned down to 5.5, stroked down to 5.5. It was bigger than that originally, and that had so much torque you could have towed a house round with it, and the different characteristics of the engine. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and I want to say this absolutely so that there's nobody is under any illusion as to what I'm saying here. What we love about sports car racing, multi-class sports car racing, multi-manufacturer sports car racing, is that there is variety, and that cars will have inherently different characteristics. Now, I accept that in GT3, GT Daytona in particular, because of the different types of cars, there needs to be a bigger element of balance and performance, but that shouldn't ever take away a team outperforming their car and outperforming the other teams, and it shouldn't take away the inherent characteristics of one car against another at one circuit or in one set of circumstances: hot weather, cold weather, wet weather, dry weather. And I think IMSA do a really very good job, in all honesty. BOP is often seen as balance of performance, three very dirty words, but the amount of work that goes in through the IMSA technical team to try and give us racing that is interesting, exciting and entertaining at very different circuits. And it was mentioned early on by one of the listeners at IMSA Radio on Twitter. You could not have three more varied circuit, Jeremy, than Daytona, Sebring, Streets of Long Beach and here, and yet we have had great racing in all the classes at all of those, and that's a testament to the car designers, to the manufacturers, and to those that make the rules. Everybody's got to work together to make that happen. 26 minutes to go.
Sorry, John, you're absolutely right. I think, and I'm not quite sure they got it right for DPI this weekend. They gave the Cadillacs an extra 10 kilos. I think that probably wasn't necessary because for this racetrack, but in particular. But in any case, you know, they generally speaking do a really, really good job. And you just look at the categories again. You know, as the Acura has an advantage slightly over the Cadillac here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, so in GTD the Porsche always shines here as well.
Yeah.
We're seeing that again today. Matty Campbell, 20 seconds now his advantage over Ben Barnick in that Vassar Sullivan Lexus. Haven't we talked about these guys much, have we? But Conor De Filippi is now right on the tail. He's been just over a second behind in the third place BMW Team RLL entry, car number 25. It's now within a second for the first time in a long time. Yeah. And the Corvette of Antonio Garcia, he's only another couple of seconds behind in that fourth position. Also, John, briefly in GTD, Jeff Westphal has just got past Brian Sellers for second place.
Yeah, and it's BMW and Carbon there, that's Lamborghini, ahead of the Porsche in GTD. So Porsche, yes, in GTD Pro, but not in GTD. The BMW is actually doing really well around here as well, and that, of course, is the newest car in that class. So that's built to the next set of regulations, actually, for GT3, and therefore GT Daytona. Be very interesting to see how the LMDHs, what was originally going to be DPI 2.0, the IMSA version of the top class of global prototype racing, fit into this next year. What I would say now, if you're here at the track or watching worldwide, drink this in this year. These are the fastest prototypes in endurance racing right now, whether it's at Sebring, whether it's here. We had back-to-back at Sebring, and they outperformed comprehensively. And I'm not saying this as detrimental to WEC. I'm saying drink it in and enjoy it. But the DPIs outperformed the WEC prototypes, despite those having confidential tyres and these being on a spec tyre, by some margin. Next year, everything will be slower. LMDH will be slower than the current DPIs by a margin. It's all down to what the ACO, IMSA and the FIA called stratification of how the classes have all got to be kept apart to ensure safety as we get such great fields in endurance racing. So LMDH and LMH are going to be slower than what we see now in DPI, and we've already seen that with the LMH cars, and that is designed into it. So drink this in this year, ladies and gentlemen, and absolutely take advantage of it. If you can get to an IMSA race and get trackside, please do it, because this is an end of an era when these DPIs go. And the same way that people look back to LMP1, LMP 900, those cars, well, we'll be saying exactly the same when we lose these DPIs, because we are not going to get the same lap speed. We'll get the same racing, I'll tell you that now. We'll get the same racing, it'll be side by side, but we are not going to get the same lap speeds that we've seen. We're down to a 15.685 for the Konica Minolta Acura, and that is very, very impressive indeed in the heat of the day today, with the temperature on track at 40 Celsius, 104 degrees. That's impressive indeed, Jeremy, isn't it? These are proper racing cars, these DPIs.
Yeah, they really are. They're great. They sound good. They look good. They're fast. Yeah, we're seeing really fast lap times here, and relatively cost effective too. Some people talk about the glory days back in the Audi. In the Audi prototypes a few years ago, they were certainly faster, but the budgets to run those cars were astronomical. I mean, probably maybe even 10 times as much as it costs to run these cars, or certainly 5 times as much than it does to run these cars. With
not that much faster though, Jeremy. Not that much faster considering the money involved. If you look at race lap times, as opposed to qualifying where they could turn up the turbos and they had specific tyres, and they were all on confidential tyres rather than spec tyres as well, which makes a huge difference. But in terms of performance per monetary unit, whether it be dollar, euro, pound, yen, or whatever, it wasn't a massive difference, was it? Let's be honest.
No, I agree with you. Well, yeah, around here, those cars were seriously quick. The qualifying lap record was set in 2008 by David Brabham in an Acura 1:10.1. So that was seriously quick. I mean, 13.9 we thought was a pretty darn impressive lap to yesterday. By the pole sitter Ricky Taylor, and indeed it was, because a lot less horsepower and I could say a lot less money. The race lap record here in the old days was Adrian Fernandez, also in an Acura in 2008, a 1:11.1. So yeah, they were they're significantly quicker, but as I say, it's all those other factors that you just mentioned, John.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily make for better racing.
There you go.
Different cars making the lap times in different ways. Long may that continue, says Ian McCarthy.
We've just got a new lap record here for the second place car of Tom Blomqvist. All of a sudden, he's turned up the wick. A 1:15.546 for the second place car, and that on this last lap 100, has brought him again right onto the tail of Philip Albuquerque. Have they saved enough fuel to get to the end and really push hard? Wow. I wouldn't have expected, John, particularly a fastest lap of the race at this stage in the proceedings. That is a surprise.
And also a battle going on further down. Ross Gunn trying to unlap himself from... no, he's actually trying to get by Brian Sellers in the battle for 19th and 20th. We'll keep an eye on all of that. Shea Adam, let's pick up some content and some comment from drivers who've been out there today. You're down at BMW and Turner Motorsport. Any tacos with Robbie Foley?
No tacos and margaritas yet. You got to earn those first, so there's a little bit longer in the race to go. But Robbie, I really felt like last year you and Bill deserved to win the race. You were so strong at the beginning, and then it just went away at the end of the, but I mean sooner than it was before now in the race, so I'm not jinxing you, not bringing that up. But at this point in the race, what does Bill have underneath him to fend off the charging Lamborghini?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard it 100 times, but the tire deck is pretty high here, so Bill is kind of managing. He wants to push hard to be fast, but at the same time, he's got to manage his tires, so it's a very difficult thing. On new tires, you can run really fast, drive really hard, but then you got to bring it back and just drive what you have. So it's a little bit frustrating, but that's what he has. And we got 20-something minutes to go, I think. So his tires are sort of at that stage. So he's going to do his best, and yeah, fingers crossed.
You wasted no time on the start getting to the lead. Were you frustrated with how qualifying went? Did you feel like there was more performance?
Not totally. With this new car, we're learning every session. So we continue to improve. Qualifying was really good. We made a lot of changes for specifically qualifying that really helped us out. So we're getting there, and I think we had a good start and just tried to manage a gap at the beginning. Then we started playing some fuel games, saving fuel, running hard, all this kind of different stuff. But we're still learning every time we drive this thing. So so far so good. New BMW is handling really well, and yeah, fingers crossed.
Hopefully I have to make a reservation for Baja Cantina for the whole Turner crew tonight.
I hope so. We were there last night, but we'll gladly go again.
Of course you did that, and that just makes me more envious. One of my favourite places to eat in the world. Any issues for the Turner BMW? There's a bit of oil mist down the side of that car, noted by Alan Prosser here. I'll leave you to have a chat with the team about that one. Great to hear Robbie Foley. Maybe that's just a normal thing, that it does burn a bit of oil towards the end. Happens with this car. Is what we're being told by the team. Down to the last 17 minutes. This is that time, Jeremy, isn't it, where everybody is now going, fuel numbers, and all the engineers are saying to the drivers, read me your fuel number out as you go by. Keep your lap speed up, but save fuel. Thanks very much. You're telling me that with 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's right. And it is nitty-gritty time now. 103 laps completed by our leaders. A bit of change now for third position in GTD. Jan Halen getting past Brian Sellers and immediately pulling away And Jan Heylen actually now caught right up with Jeff Westphal, who is closing, or has closed in the last few laps on Bill Oberlin. So a battle developing in GTD. This is, we're looking there at just a little bit further back. He is Brian Sellers, who slipped back from those cars ahead of him, as we can see. But still right behind Brian Sellers is Ross Gunn in GTD Pro Aston Martin. And a couple of seconds behind the two of them is Dirk Müller in 5th position in GTD in the Team Korthoff Mercedes. But in GTD Pro, Manny Campbell, you know, he's way out in front. But 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are also closing in. There was a couple of seconds between each of those two cars not too long ago. It's now, you know, just about a second between Ben Barnicat in 2nd place, number 14 Vasser Sullivan Lexus, then Connor Di Filippi in the BMW M Team RLL BMW car number 25, and Antonio Garcia is hauling along there as well in that Corvette number 3. Who's that off the road? That's one of the Vasser Sullivan Lexuses. This is the exit of turn 4.
And yeah, I was just looking at that. Let's see if we can find out which one it was. It's either Ben Barnicoat in 2nd or in his category, or it's Aaron Thielitz who's 7th in GTD.
Did you see which other car was around them?
I didn't, I'm afraid.
No, I didn't either.
Gareth Evans loving the overhead. Yeah, using that overhead camera. So I was just saying earlier on the day, I was watching Motul 3 from Jerez earlier today. In an era when so many series want to get their cameras down lower to make the cars look faster and getting tighter to make it look more dramatic, the overhead camera from the helicopter in particular, where you can see the ebb and flow through various corners, I think is a really, really useful shot. And we had the top 9 in Motul 3 earlier on, all in one aerial shot. It was phenomenal to see. And last weekend at Algarve at Portimao, the helicopter chasing them over the top of the undulations was pretty good to watch as well. And thanks to NASCAR Productions, as ever, and our camera operators for making sure that we see all the way around the circuit, and for IMSA and NASCAR Productions and NBC for the investment in the helicopter that's chasing our leaders up to the top of the corkscrew right now, just on driver's right as it follows them around this 2.25 mile circuit. 13.5 minutes to go, and we've got under a second between 1st and 2nd. 1:15.546, the best lap of the race. Tom Blomqvist, that is a new race lap record for these cars. Cross the start-finish line now for the leader. Under the bridge, which is about to be improved. Big news this week, if you weren't listening earlier on in the weekend. The local government who own this circuit is now operated by a management company rather than the volunteer scram organisation that was involved here for so many decades. But locally it's been passed that there will be a programme of financial investment, and the investment includes improvements to the front straight walk-over bridge and potentially some resurfacing as well. Jan Heylen to the head of the field in GT Daytona in the Wright Motorsport Porsche. He's hunted down and passed Bill Oberlin. Jeff Westphal now down into 3rd. Brian Sellers in 4th. What were we saying earlier on? This is a Porsche track. Well, Jeremy, you were indeed foretelling the future. The number 16 blue and black Porsche GT3 ahead now of the Liquid Volley number 96 with that oil smoke down, oil residue down the side, the right hand side of that car from the exhaust. Bill Oberlin then 2nd, 3rd, and right there with Bill Oberlin now, Jeff Westphal in the green and black Lamborghini.
That's exactly right, and 4 laps ago Jan Heylen was 3 seconds behind Bill Oberlin So he's made up 3 seconds and passed him, for goodness sake, in just 4 laps, which shows you how good that Porsche is working right now in the hands particularly of Jan Halen. So Porsche's now leading both of the GT categories. Paddy Campbell way out in front in the GTD Pro leading car. Now 23 seconds it was last time, but it's 26 now as he crossed the line to complete nap 98. He put out 2 seconds on that last lap. Yikes. 26, a couple of laps. No, it's bigger, but it's 25. Put about 0.8% on that last lap, but pulling away. But now Conor Di Filippi is right with Ben Barnick in the same way as Bill Oberlin is under intense pressure from Jeff Westphal, another California Bay Area driver, Jeff Westphal. Again, another of those underrated drivers, in my opinion. And about 3 seconds behind him, having found his way past Brian Sellers, which is a position on the road but not in class. Ross Gunn in the Pro car getting past Brian Sellers. So the Aston Martin ahead of the BMW, and the Ross Gunn is still about, he's still a long way actually behind the other 4 leaders in GTD Pro.
The pass for the lead.
Smoked past him, didn't he?
Yeah, coming out of turn 5 a couple of 3 laps ago in GT, the pass for the lead in GT Daytona. Bill Oberlin just drifting a little bit wide going out of turn 5. I think Oberlin is struggling for either grip or he's trying to hit the fuel number now with 10 minutes to go, because he's not attacking the corner and he's not getting off the corner. I would think there's a little bit of lift and course going on here for the Legg Molly Turner Motorsport BMW M4 GT3, and that may give the grey, black and highlighted green Lamborghini just going down through Mario Andretti hairpin now. That battle for second and third. Ryan Sellers about 25 seconds behind that scrap at the front of the field. Albuquerque has weathered the storm and pulled out to 1.6 seconds, but he's got more traffic, including the NTE SSR Marco Holzer driven Lamborghini, the blue and white number 42. He's got past that, pulled 3 wide. That scrap between Hartner Racing and Lexus was still going on as Tom Blomqvist had to come through, but he did make the pass between turns 2 and 3. One slip in traffic here, Jeremy. It could go either way between these 2 Acuras. This has been cracking. Somebody's just put a wheel on the dirt coming out of 5. I think that might have been there's a car off. It's the court of car, is it? Yes, it is. The Allegra, the 28 car, Michael Di Casada. 6th position in GTD. Put a wheel off at 5 and then went all off at 6. This is absolutely crucial. Blomqvist, if he's going to do it, may have to do it now. Di Casada's found reverse. He's right in the sand. You'd need a pitching wedge to get out of there, but he's managed to get grip. Those Michelin tyres. IMSA Rallycross, IMSA on dirt. We'll take that. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, really is. And he closed right in onto the tail of Dirk Müller in the other Mercedes that's running well there in that category. 5th position for the team Korthoff entry. Michael Di Casada had closed in, but now, of course, that gap way out again.
Hello to Tubbs and the team at Sacred Coffee Sport. Yes, there was. So Di Casada put it off the road on the exit of turn 6, got dirt all over the tyres. Here is, let's have a look at it. Yeah, he is off the road. Gets up to the next corner. I think we're going to see him skating off. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of dirt on those tyres. Yeah, as he turned in, it was the right rear Michelin that already had dirt on it. Now, whether that was slightly going down as well, no, that's still got air in it, or whatever mix is in that tyre. I did say I'd seen dust on the exit of 5, and that is indeed what happened, Jeremy. Spot on. Hello to Tubbs and the rest of the Sacred Coffee Sport team. They're keeping an eye on the Fav car, Jaminet and Campbell, and they keep us going as well. I admit I have had a cup of the Lotterer Single Estate coffee to keep me going. today. I ration myself to that. They're tuned in and watching back in the UK. Jan says, I don't know why it's been so long since I watched a full IMSA race. Awesome tracks, awesome racing. Thanks for the coverage. Well, that goes out to the whole team, Jan. It's not just the three of us, of course. We can't do our jobs without all of the technical services that go around it, including the great IMSA technical team, trackside here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, all of our camera operators, and indeed the production and direction, which is off-site now, has been for many years. That's up at Charlotte, North Carolina, with NASCAR Productions. And for the radio side, it's Tim Gray and his team at our main control room for IMSA Radio and RSL in London. Thanks to Tim, who's our executive producer today. It was Kerry Cobb yesterday. Shea Adam looking at some very concerned faces down in the pit lane with 5.5 minutes to go. I've just seen the Dragon Speed car in and out. Is that going to be the only pit caller in these closing stages?
Well, they didn't pit by themselves, so I would think not. We might have cars running out on the final lap, depending on when the white flag falls, because we could get a lap longer than everyone else expects. But yeah, I was not expecting to see Dragon Speed come back down. The crew got up on the wall, lowered the pit board, and it was about 5 seconds worth of fuel.
Some GT cars have got to be close as well.
Yeah. I tell you what, John, in LMP2, the 81 car, that was in on lap 77, which is about 4 or 5 laps before the other contenders in LMP2. So that's about right. It'll be only probably, 3 laps to go now. I think the other guys could probably make it. Louis Delatras is sort of soft pedaling right now. He's not going nearly as fast as he was earlier on because he doesn't need to. He's now got a handy lead over Ryan Deyell in 2nd position, and Juan Pablo Montoya just gave up 3rd position in that number 81 car. That'll move the 2 PR1 Matheson Motorsports cars up to 3rd and 4th, and they'll be ruining their opportunities in this race because they were looking really, really good early on.
Qualified 1st and 2nd, ran 1st and 2nd, had their issues, got back to 1st and 2nd, but they haven't been able to come forward, as Jeremy rightly says. Looks like Josh Payson in the number 52 will get back to 3rd place in the End ALZ, End Alzheimer's sponsored car. Good early stint from Patrick Kelly. In GTD Pro, Antonio Garcia trying to get on the podium here, with Connor De Filippi just 0.8 of a second up the road. Turn 5 they're at the moment. Just ahead of them is Ben Barnicott, about another second up the road. Matty Campbell is gone. He's half a minute up the road from that. And meantime, Jeff Westphal is still worrying the back of the Liqui Moly BMW.
Tell you what,
I bet he can draw that from memory. He's been sitting behind that so long now.
Well, no, a handful of laps, a bit more than that, probably 10, 12 laps or so. He's closed in on it, but finding a way past Bilobin generally, unless you're Jan Halen with a Porsche, more easier said than done. Juan Pablo Montoya, by the way, after that splash and go, was able to maintain, I think, 3rd position in number 81 car. Have to wait and see when he comes.
Yes, agree.
Or was he?
No, he's already gone through Sector 3. There goes Josh Patient now. So yes, you're spot on, Jeremy.
Yeah. But there's a big surprise to me is Jonathan Bomarito just has not had the pace of some of these other contenders in the car number 11. I would have expected him to be much closer. His best lap was a 1:17.1, but that's against a 1:16.7 for Montoya, 1:16.8 for Deyell, and a 1:16.2 stunning lap by Louis Delatras.
Oh, that's out of this world.
Looking good here out in front.
I mean, that is out of this world. What's that? 4/10s quicker than anybody else in the class?
Yeah, more than that. 5/10s, more, just over half a second. You're right, and that lap that he's done, 1:16.2. The outright DPI record last year was 15.6. So only just out half a second outside of that, and the fastest lap in this race, a 15.5 by Blomqvist. That's 16.2 then for the LMP2 car. Stunning, yes.
Albuquerque goes across the line with just over 2 seconds of a lead. He will get the white flag next time around. Oh, actually, yes, he will get the white flag next time around, because there was about 1:23 on the clock when he went through. So Blomqvist not able to close him down. Being pointed out by a number of people that Albuquerque has not necessarily been that lucky in traffic. He's really had to scrap and fight for this one. A couple of times he's lost big amounts of real estate to his young challenger behind him, up at the corkscrew in particular. Could easily have been a goodly margin up the road, but I don't think it's going to matter. There'll be 2.25 miles left at the end of this. The Acura track has delivered another stunning Acura performance, but it's been a good fight between the two Acura teams. Connington and Alder, Wayne Taylor Racing and Mike Shanks MSR have been at it. It's kept us interested all the way through. They're a good 20 seconds better than the rest of the teams. There's the white flag. The Cadillacs have not had it around here. They had their day in the sun in California a couple of weeks ago at Long Beach, but this weekend at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on the Monterey Peninsula, it's been all Acura all week. Philippe Albuquerque finishing off a great job between himself and Ricky Taylor and the team. The cars, the ARX 05s, rolled off the truck pretty quickly. Blomqvist is closing in. Was a little bit of traffic there. Turn 5, it's under a second. He's taken a second away. Surely there's not going to be more drama. The corkscrew for the final time. Albuquerque with a bit of traffic ahead of him. As he comes over the top, it's all downhill from here, but he couldn't kick the clutch out. Past the end, the NSX Acura, so that car's not going to get in the way. From Rick Ware Racing, Ryan Eversley doing the right thing. Final corner, final lap. Checkered flag in sight. The last 4 times we've been here, we've had 4 Acura victories. That streak is unbroken. Connington and Alder, Wayne Taylor Racing. Philippe Albuquerque takes the victory for himself and Ricky Taylor. It's Tom Blomqvist in second. Ollie Jarvis started that car for My Shank Racing with Curb Agajanian. That's a great 1-2 for Acura. We're still waiting for Pipo Durrani to come through. He'll finish in third. There he goes now across the line for Whelan Engineering. That car was being pushed all the way by its drivers. In LMP2, Louis Delatraz, what a comeback. That car facing the wrong direction early on with John Ferrano dropping right to the back of the field. But smart tactics and good driving has taken the victory for Tower Motorsport. Ryan DL will be second for Era Motorsport and Dragon Speed will go through in third. In GTD Pro, it's Pfaff Motorsport that's gone through for Porsche and won, from Vassar Sullivan in second for the Lexus and Conor De Filippi for BMW in third. And it's Porsche on top of the podium for Wright Motorsport in GTD ahead of Lamborghini for Carbon. That's a great result for them. And Turner Motorsport, Bill Oberlin unable to hold on in the last few laps. Shea Adam down on the pit lane with some of the winners. Where are you, Shea?
With Ricky Taylor 2 years back-to-back for this team, for this group of people. How does it feel?
It's awesome. That was so difficult. The 60 car was really strong all day, and really great for Acura to finish 1-2 here. We knew we had to execute today. It was a track that definitely, favored the Acura this weekend, and just can't say enough about the Konica Minolta guys to execute and do the job today and give us an amazing car. And exciting to get a lot of points back with the 02 and the 01 having some troubles, that we were able to capitalize on their misfortune, and I think the championship is going to be super, super tight now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Jeremy's doing the arithmetic. What happened near to the end? It was a sprint to the flag for Bill Oberlin. And in fact, was that where it went awry for Bill as they were going to cross the line? And Jeff Westphal getting second position right at the very last knockings there. And that's what gave the Carbon second place by 0.037 of a second. So yes, that was right at the line. Bill Oberlin could not hang on. Shea, where are you now?
I'm walking with Jam Jam. 2 race wins so far this year, not too shabby. The Porsche looked very impervious, but that still doesn't take away an amazing win at WeatherTech race by Laguna Seca. Faf.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, no words. It's like, didn't expect that we would be that strong, but yeah, car was really amazing. The team did a faultless job all weekend, great strategy, good pit stops, and yeah, Matt bring it home and yeah, pushed out till the end. So yeah, cannot be more happy than today. So second win of the year. I guess we are somehow back in the championship, close to Corvette or maybe right in front. So yeah, super happy with this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mathieu Jaminet from Faf Racing. So right at the line, Jeremy, on the run to the line, Jeff Westphal nipped by Bill Oberlin by, well, if they had license plates, the width of a license plate ahead of that BMW in the Lamborghini. Extraordinary stuff.
Well, it really was, wasn't it? And I'd like to see that again, because I just wondering whether that's a placing of the transponder issue, because it looked to me like the BMW was still fractionally ahead as they went across the line.
That's why I wasn't sure what I was seeing, Jeremy, and I had to check the timing again, because I'd say exactly the same thing. They do have cameras on the start-finish line, of course, as well, to make sure on close finishes that everything lines up. But that's how it stands on the Alcamel timing screen at the moment. Jan Heyland finishing off for Wright Motorsport in GTT. He'll be on the top step of the box from Jeff Westphal and Carbon by Peregrine, with Peregrine, excuse me. It could not have been any closer, really. Robert McGuinness did a great job early on. 0.037 of a second back to Bill Oberlin and Robbie Foley in third position.
So what, in just DPI points, unofficially, Ricky Taylor and Philip Albuquerque will be tied on 13.25 with Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist. And then they were third and fourth coming into the points into this weekend. But I think with that 1-2 finish, they'll now lead the Earl Bamber, Alex Lynn car with that issue that Earl Bamber had. They will be next on 12.95, so only 30 points, which under the new system is not very much. It's equivalent to 3 points in the old system, which is really, really close, therefore. And just 7 points behind them, Tristan Vautier and Richard Westwood, who don't quite keep their podium streak alive, finishing fourth here today.
Jeremy rapidly doing the arithmetic. Let's see if we can get a quick word with Tower Motorsports closer, Louis Delatraz. What a run that was. Remember, that car was facing the wrong direction. John Ferrano dropped all the way to the back, and with a mix of tricky strategy. We talked about the strategy in our Michelin Countdown to Green and the Porsche keys to the race. They got back on the lead lap, and they have taken the victory in LMP2 by 23 seconds over Ryan DL and the rest of the Era Motorsports team. Quite an extraordinary run from those guys, and they must be absolutely delighted. Dwight Merriman, of course, started the Era car. Shea, he's down there now.
Yeah, with Louis Delatraz. Louis, phenomenal performance today. Your first time to Laguna Seca. You're a gamer at heart. How cool is it to say that you've won at this track?
It's really amazing. You know, I've been playing with Laguna Seca since probably 8 years old on the PlayStation. And to be in real life, I'm very happy to be in IMSA for my first time, and to win it at the first go. I mean, it's amazing. The team did a awesome job, and I'm very thankful for it.
You not only won the race, you set a new lap record too, so gone faster than anyone in LMP2 has ever done before. It was a flawless performance from the outside. What was it like from the inside?
Yeah, it was very nice. I mean, the car was good all weekend. I felt comfortable from the first laps. It's good to know. It's always nice to have a lap record, you know. But in the end, we were fast all the time. We made no mistakes, and they were very smart in the strategy. So can only thank them.
Congratulations, first win of many, I think.
Thank you very much.
He was very good, Jeremy, wasn't he? The whole team did well. That is a proper team effort, isn't it? When your car's facing the wrong direction in the early laps, you drop all the way at the back, you drop off the lead lap in class, and then you've got to start fighting back. For basically 2 hours, they had to fight back to get themselves towards the front of the field.
Exactly right, and that's what this championship is all about, isn't it? Teamwork. The drivers have got to work well together. The engineers have got to be able to work well with the drivers, but it's a whole team effort because the strategy's got to be perfect and no mistakes from anybody on either side of the car door, if you like. Look at the points in GTD Pro. The Pfaff Motorsports pairing of Jaminet and Campbell, I think, with the dominant performance this weekend with the pole and the win, will now have 1,345 points. Will take over the lead from Corvette Racing, who did a really good job to come through in the 4th position and was running very competitively in the late stages, but had to be content with 4th just on 1295. So that's a 50-point advantage for Pfaff Motorsports. Vasser Sullivan, with the 2nd place finish today, will be 30 points only behind the Corvette in 3rd place.
Yeah, that's tightening up as well. Corvette in 4th today, of course. Just a second and a half away at the end. Looks like IMSA are getting that balance of performance closer. We'll leave the PA now to our colleagues on site and begin to wrap up our video portion on IMSA.tv and the global feed. Go over to IMSARadio.com and RS2 for our Michelin post-race tech, which comes up next. And a reminder, of course, that we'll be back on air for the next IMSA race. It's not that far away, of course. We've got Mid-Ohio and then Detroit before Le Mans. Make sure you join us for that. And next on RS2 at IMSARadio.com for Michelin post-race tech.